My name is Phil Jeter. I'm a supervisor with City of Temple Terrace Parks and Recreation.
My name is Tiffany Beltran. I am the recreation supervisor over aquatics at the Family Recreation Complex.
I'm Coach Kenny. I'm the recreational leader for gymnastics.
I am Alicia Baker. I work here at the City of Temple Terrace Parks and Rec. I am the summer and after school coordinator here.
What does Parks and Recreation mean to the Temple Terrace community? In one word, I would say connections. Our community comes to the family complex, comes to our green spaces, our parks, our trails, our fields to connect with one another.
Oh my God, we have so much to offer here at the rec center. We have our very own pools here. We don't have to take the kids off-site to go swimming. We offer field trips, we offer games, we offer arts and crafts here. So we offer a lot here at the rec center. We prioritize safety first, rules, expectations with the kids, not also the kids, but the staff as well. I have so many new field trips this year. They are going to Zoo Tampa, they're going to Urban Air. I have a magician coming. We have a petting zoo. We have a lot of field trips.
Gymnastics camps are special for kids, number one, because it's a safe environment for them to learn new skills. These kids are doing excellent. They're learning the fundamental gymnastics. They're actually becoming very strong in the competitive route. We have two good Excel programs. We have Excel Gold and Excel Silvers. Our Excel Silver program just won first place as a team program last 2 weekends ago at Punta Gorda, which was one of the best things that we could have done as a coach.
Our junior lifeguard program is a revamped program where it builds confidence for 12 to 15-year-olds in and around the water. Participants will gain rescue techniques and hands-on leadership skills through the activities that they learn. Lifeguarding has made a dramatic impact in my life, and it's allowed me to make people around me in the water feel safe. It's also allowed me to develop my teamwork skills and my leadership skills under immense pressure.
Yeah, so we're very excited about this upcoming summer. In addition to our traditional tennis camps that we've always offered, we're adding new sports, soccer, basketball, and flag football. I'm excited about the future of athletics here in Temple Terrace because of our new basketball league specifically. We just recently were able to relaunch our youth basketball league, and I see these summer camps as a way to keep that momentum going and continue to grow the basketball league here in Temple Terrace. The summer camps begin June 1st. Celebrate what's next.
Gentlemen, good evening. Hello. Good evening. I know we're having a neighbor meetup and a city council meeting's breaking out, right? So welcome to everybody. Welcome to our May 5th meeting of the Temple Terrace City Council. It's so nice to see everybody here, and most of you are smiling. That's a great sign, so thank you for being here. I'd like to remind you to please silence your cell phones, if you would please. And we have a running poll on who's going to be that guy, so you don't want to be that person. So if you would please stand and join me for the invocation and the pledge. Lord, please open our hearts and minds as we begin our meeting tonight. Give us wisdom and compassion to act wisely. We ask for your continued comfort of the family involved in the tragic traffic crash recently. May they feel your love and the support of our community. We thank you for our amazing city and the residents who live here and make it so special. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So for those of you who don't visit us often, we do have a fairly new tradition in the scheme of things here in Temple Terrace, whereby we start each council meeting with a fun or interesting fact about our city or the region or the state, or we keep expanding out because it's getting harder and harder to find new fun facts. But tonight that duty falls on Councilmember Kravitz.
Good night, everyone. Good evening, rather. Nice to see you all. So I have a fun historical fact. how do people in Temple Terrace get informed about their own city? So the answer goes back around 100 years, and the story starts in about 1920 when developers launched Temple Terrace. They needed to convince Floridians and Northerners to come buy lots. So to do this, what did they do? They took out full-page ads in the Tampa Tribune, and the slogan was Florida's masterpiece. Not bad. They placed glossy spreads in a regional real estate magazine called Sunnyland and printed 12-page brochures showing the river, the golf course, and the Mediterranean revival homes just then rising along River Hills Drive. The first media of Temple Terrace was from real estate agents. What a classic Florida story. By 1931, a real local newspaper emerged. That was called the Temple Terrace Beacon. It was weekly, locally produced, covered local news. And it wasn't the only one. There was also the Sentinel, which was edited by a man named John L. Perry. His masthead carried the tagline, "We print only the truth." Not bad. The Beacon outlasted them all, and it still exists. Residents also found and built other ways of keeping the record. The Garden Club, the Women's Club, the Public Library. An arsonist destroyed nearly 12,000 books in 1982. That was a little bit of a surprising find for me. But apparently people in Temple Terrace love books and love reading, which I also share with them. And they reopened the library in temporary quarters in just 6 weeks. Amazing. I wonder how many books there were in that temporary quarter. Probably a few less, but it was still worth it. Cleo Burney then published a book called Temple Terrace, The First 50 Years. I've seen this book in a lot of hands. I've seen it at Barnes & Noble. It's still being sold from what I can tell, and it came out for the 50th anniversary of the city. So if anyone is looking to do a little bit of extra work and maybe enter into publishing, there is another window opening now because we've just had our centennial. So every 50 years, maybe it's time for a city chronicle. The last one was 50 years ago. You could make the 100-year centennial now and bring out volume 2. The big metropolitan papers were always around, but they never quite gave us a Temple Terrace bureau, from what I've been able to find anyway. The Tampa Tribune ran a North Side edition that covered us, but it was part of a larger zone. And the St. Petersburg Times, now the Tampa Bay Times, had a Tampa edition in the late 80s that reported on us regularly, but the contraction hit them hard. The Tampa Bay Times has gone through round after round of layoffs and now, unfortunately, only prints 2 times a week. So the era when a Temple Terrace household could subscribe to a daily paper that meaningfully covered our local affairs is for the most part gone. The city itself stepped up to fill some of the gap. In the late 1990s, the city launched an official website, and the city council meetings were televised. The city started its own television production a year later, what is now Temple Terrace TV, which is on channel 641 on Spectrum and channel 39 on Frontier. And the city recently began publishing a community newsletter not long after, which today is the monthly Temple Terrace Insider. As wonderful as all of that is, government talking about itself is no substitute for a free press. I say that fondly. I am both a journalist and an elected official. Today, we have the Beacon, the city's own communications, Facebook groups, civic clubs. And some of them are being honored tonight. And I'd also like to draw attention to templeterrace.org, which I launched yesterday as a place where residents can find other civic information, meeting summaries, voting records, issues facing the city. So, wherever you get your information, I wish you all a very happy reading, and stay informed and stay engaged. And thank you all very much.
Here. Next, we have a couple of very significant recognitions. The first one is recognition of the 2025 Firefighter of the Year, and I'd like to call firefighter Zandel Jackson to the podium. Come on up, you're in the hot seat. It seems like I just went to your pinning ceremony the other day. So this is a very high honor, particularly for somebody who, well, I'll get ahead of myself, somebody who's not been with us for very long. This is incredible. So, firefighter Zandell Jackson has been selected as the Temple Terrace Fire Department's 2025 Firefighter of the Year in recognition of his outstanding performance, professionalism, and dedication to the department and the community. Firefighter Jackson began his career with the fire department in January of 2022 and has been a city employee since 2014. He consistently demonstrates a strong work ethic, a positive attitude, and a commitment to excellence in all aspects of his duties. Zandell is actively involved in training, participates on the rapid intervention team, contributes to departmental initiatives, and embraces leadership opportunities. Firefighter Jackson is also recognized for fostering teamwork and mentoring fellow firefighters while maintaining a high standard of professionalism on every shift. His contributions have made a meaningful impact on the department and citizens we serve. His compassion, professionalism, and respect for our citizens and visitors is evident both on duty and off duty. We are very proud to honor him as the Temple Terrace Fire Department's 2025 Firefighter of the Year. Yep. So now we expect about a 15-minute speech. Would you like to say a few words? You don't have to, but you're welcome to.
Sure, I would say I'm very privileged and honored to be a City of Temple Terrace firefighter. I'm surrounded with a great team, from the administration to the chiefs to my captains to my fellow firefighters. So I'm just thankful for the community that's right there with me. Thank you.
Very good. Don't go anywhere.
Hide behind.
Congratulations. Well done. Here,
Thank you.
Now, just to preempt any Facebook rumors here, we are not so cheap that we just give him a paper certificate. There is a trophy that goes with this. He's just too modest that he didn't want it to be in here tonight. If he didn't want us to, so I just don't want the, look at this, Firefighter of the Year, and you gave him a piece of paper. Like, no, we do have a, I've learned to head these things off. So next, we have the equivalent on the police department side. And I'd like to call Officer Alyssa Case to the, good evening. Nice to see you. So, Police Officer of the Year Award recognizes exceptional service either through multiple instances of outstanding performance over the course of a year or through a single act of exemplary service in the face of significant difficulty or personal danger. Since joining the Temple Terrace Police Department on November 28, 2019, Officer Case has consistently embodied our organization's core values of courage, honor, and commitment. Throughout her career, she has demonstrated outstanding performance in all areas of law enforcement, continually working to improve both the department and the community she serves. Officer Case earned her certification as a field training officer on May 19, 2023, and has since made significant contributions to the department's development of its future personnel. In 2025 alone, she trained 4 of the 8 officers hired that year, all of whom have spoken highly of her mentorship and maintained excellent professional standing within the agency. I can, as a previous FTO, I know 4 in a year is a lot. That, you're glad to be in your car by yourself after a while, aren't you?
That's nice
Yeah.
and quiet.
Throughout 2025, Officer Case responded to 445 calls for service, conducted 177 traffic stops, oversaw 650 directed patrols, and participated in 112 parked walk and talk initiatives. She accomplished these tasks while simultaneously training officers, leading the traffic fatality unit, and attending ongoing educational classes. Her exceptional work ethic, professionalism, and leadership have distinguished her as an invaluable member of the department and a notable contributor to the City of Temple Terrace, demonstrating a commitment beyond standard expectations. Officer Case's significant contributions to the Temple Terrace Police Department, the City of Temple Terrace, and the law enforcement community are undeniable. For these reasons, Officer Case has been awarded the Thomas L. Lewis Law Enforcement Officer of the Year for her outstanding actions in 2025. Well done. So in this case, we actually have the award. Well done.
Freeze.
Whoops.
Thanks.
Well, we're not done. We have the Public Safety Telecommunicator of the Year award, and that goes to Mark Ramirez. Mr. Ramirez, there we go. Come on up. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You don't get out of the communication center much, do you?
Do not.
You've never seen the rest of the building. I'm honored to announce that Mark Ramirez is the Public Safety Telecommunicator of the Year for 2025. Mark's dedication, professionalism, and unwavering commitment to excellence make him exceptionally deserving of this recognition. Throughout the past year, Mark has consistently gone above and beyond his role within the Temple Terrace Emergency Communications Unit. He's demonstrated remarkable initiative by stepping up to assist in training new hires, ensuring they are well prepared to meet the demands of this critical profession. His willingness to share knowledge and mentor others reflects both his leadership and his commitment to the continued success of the team. In addition to his training efforts, Mark has selflessly covered additional shifts to support operational needs, often during high demand periods. His reliability and strong work ethic have helped maintain continuity of service and ensured that the community continues to receive prompt and effective emergency response support. What truly sets Mark apart is his consistently positive attitude and professional demeanor. He approaches each shift with optimism and focus, contributing to a supportive and collaborative work environment. He also demonstrates a high level of self-awareness. He readily acknowledges areas for growth and takes full accountability for his performance, continuously striving to improve. Mark Ramirez is an invaluable asset to the Temple Terrace Emergency Communications Unit and to the residents we serve. His dedication to public safety, his team, and his own professional development exemplify the highest standards of this profession. And so congratulations, Mr. Ramirez. Would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, I'll just keep it quick and brief. One, I'd like to thank God. Without him, I wouldn't be here today. He gives me the strength for a very tough job and to keep going every day and the opportunity to do this job. Two, I would like to thank our chief. He has done his best to hear us out on what we need to do our job better and easier, and has been willing to do what he can to help us out there. And I also love to give a shout out to my supervisor, Venus, and my commander, Amy. They've both, man, they help us out so much. They cover the floor with us. They hear us out whenever we need anything, whether supplies, technology, support. I'm friends with both of them personally. You need people in this job. You need friends. It's hard. It's long hours. We're short staffed right now. We're working a lot of hours. And so you need people you can go to that you can trust and that know you care about them and they care about you to get through these times. And without them, I don't know if I'm still doing this job. So it's a tough job. It's a very rewarding job. You are helping people on their lowest days, and they are not always the most thankful to you when they're going through those lowest moments. But it is very rewarding to know how blessed I am to go through what I'm going through. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Maroon. Are you on day shift or night shift?
Right now, day shift.
Right now, day shift, but you work midnight shift too?
I've been here for 6 years, and in those 6 years, I've been on night shift and day shift 3 years each.
Okay. That's tough. That's a tough life. Thank you for what you do. Yep, we'll get them up there too. We'll get a picture
You're
of
the
them too.
supervisor.
Yeah, exactly. Come on up.
I thought you were behind me.
See how quick she ditched you?
I try to avoid pictures. You look so nice. Yeah, for sure.
Is that your family?
Yep.
Yes. Let's get a picture with your family. This is yours.
There you go.
So they're all gone now, but I have to tell you that these three awards are really, really significant in the career. I mean, this is very difficult. I haven't been in the fire service, but I can tell you in law enforcement, to get Officer of the Year in any department is a huge accomplishment, and particularly in a department as ours where we have like really, really high performing officers and they get selected as Officer of the Year, and same as I'm sure is true in the fire department. So, you know, we have a lot of really, really good employees, so that's a significant, and I will tell you, that jumps out on a resume when you're looking to become a detective or get promoted or become a lieutenant, whatever the ranks are, lieutenant at the fire department. That jumps out because that's a really rare and difficult thing. So, okay, where are we going next? Temple Terrace Garden Club. I don't want to invite all of you guys up. Right? So who's coming up? Here we go. Gail Moore.
That's me.
That's you. And Gail is the president of the Temple Terrace Garden Club. And so the proclamation reads as this. Ms. Moore says the Temple Terrace Garden Club was organized in 1846 to provide an opportunity for members to learn. 1946. 19. Just go with it. We could have claimed that, right? 1946, pardon me, to provide an opportunity for members to learn improved horticulture practices, promote civic beauty, and conserve natural resources. Whereas members of the Temple Terrace Garden Club have dedicated countless volunteer hours to nurturing the beauty of our community through the planting of native plants, trees, and gardens in public spaces. The club promotes sustainable gardening practices, environmental awareness, and education, passing on knowledge of horticulture, floral design, and ecology to all ages. The Temple Terrace Garden Club enhances the quality of life, improves the environment, and fosters a sense of community pride through their dedication to making our city more sustainable and beautiful. Now therefore I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 5th through 11th, 2026 as Temple Terrace Garden Club's 80th anniversary week. Not 180, 80. So thank you, Ms. Moore. Would you like to say a few words?
Just, I want to thank you for this recognition. The club is very proud to be one of the oldest clubs in Temple Terrace, and we are very proud of all the parks and gardens that we maintain for the last 80 years, and I want to thank you for this. And this is our members, just a small showing of them, and I want to thank them.
Very good. Well, thank you for being here. Thank all of you. I'm going to get one of you and I, get the proclamation, and then we'll get everybody up and then we'll figure this out. Thank you. Okay, come on up, guys. Sally, you're going to have to help herd the cats here when they get here.
We know the routine.
How are you?
Hey, Corey. How you doing?
Good showing tonight. You gonna be able to get everybody, Sally?
And one more. Okay.
Yeah.
Bob's still good, right? You're good.
A lot going on this.
I'll just scroll around and fill the way. And there may be some overlap with the next proclamation. It concerns a Historic Preservation Month. So I think we have Sherry Donahue and other members of the Historic Preservation Board. You didn't bring other members? Yeah, come on up. No. We didn't call everybody up for that one because there's so many of them. But. So, thank you for being here. Whereas the National Trust for Historic Preservation established May as Historic Preservation Month in 1973 as a way to promote historic places for the purpose of installing community pride and encouraging heritage tourism. Whereas historic preservation is an effective tool for promoting sustainable development, revitalizing neighborhoods, fostering local pride, promoting tourism, and maintaining community character. And it is important to acknowledge and celebrate the benefit of history, architecture, and archaeology in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals in helping to preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped our city. In honor of the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, this year's National Preservation Month theme is All People Are Created Equal, celebrating the places that bring the Declaration's most powerful promises to life, and the preservationists making sure those places endure. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 2026 as Historic Preservation Month. And thank you, ladies, for being here. Would you like to say a few words? Yeah. Please.
Thank you for reminding everyone about one of our most amazing aspects, and that's our history. And the only way to keep remembering it is to keep talking about it, and that's one of our goals. So thank you very much for this recognition.
Thank you, and thank you for the work that you do on the historic preservation.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
The next one is kind of a fun one. This one is, when I first heard of this, I'm like, you're going to make me read this, really? But this is kind of interesting and fun. So I'd like to invite Shushila Maharaj, president of the Temple Terrace Women's Club, and Women's Club members Sherry Donahue and Carol Dell to the podium. So this recognition is really is for Mary Rose Owens, who has recently passed, and for Eleanor Wells. And so this is kind of an interesting twist, but this is for both of them in honor of them. And like I said, when I first heard of this, I was like, we're going to do what? But it's really kind of cool. So whereas the City of Temple Terrace celebrates the traditions, generosity, and community spirit that brings residents together to create lasting memories. And whereas for many years, the beloved homemade banana pudding prepared by Mary Rose Owens has been a cherished highlight at numerous community events hosted by the City of Temple Terrace, the Temple Terrace Women's Club, and other organizations. And whereas Eleanor Wells has shared her banana pudding with the city's first responders as a way of showing her appreciation for their service, and her generosity and kindness have fostered connection and a spirit of fellowship. Whereas Mary Rose Owens and Eleanor Wells have selflessly dedicated their time, talents, and warm hospitality to serving the community, sharing their famous banana pudding with countless employees and residents who fondly associate it with camaraderie, celebration, and community pride. Whereas the enduring popularity of banana pudding has made it a symbol of the kindness, dedication, and community traditions that define the spirit of Temple Terrace. Now therefore I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim banana pudding as the official dessert of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida. I'm serious. In honor of Mary Rose Owens and Eleanor Wells, and in recognition for their many years of steadfast volunteerism and the joy their famous banana pudding has brought to the community. Now, before I move on and forget, I do want to point out that I give the proclamations, but as mayor, I don't really have the unilateral authority to declare this. However, the council assented to this one, so it is officially the banana pudding of the City of Temple Terrace is the official dessert, right? And so thank you, ladies, for being here. And please, would you like to share with us a few words?
Yes. Mary Rose Owens has been an icon in the Women's Club as well as in the City of Temple Terrace. And in passing conversations, her main concern is, would we forget her after she's gone? And this is such an honor, and I thank you all so much for this. Now we know that she will forever be remembered for her banana pudding. Thank you.
And Eleanor Wells, when I first met Eleanor Wells, I was petrified because she basically told me to be still and wait a couple of years before I could put together a couple of thoughts that might work. So the challenge was on from that point forward, because she was a backbone of every PTA her children belonged to. Mm-hmm. And then when she retired and she was home and was looking for something to do and her children lived away, she took on as her children our first responders. And so, you know, it was not unusual to see, maybe a truck parked at the house because she had summoned them to come and pick up the banana pudding.
I knew Eleanor Wells. I obviously knew Mary Rose Owens from the Women's Club, but I knew Eleanor Wells from PTA, but also from the King High School Booster Club. And the best part of an evening meeting at King High School of the Booster Club was that Eleanor would say, this has to be over pretty soon because I need to be home by 9 o'clock to make my husband his snack. And so the meeting would move right along. But the thing about the banana pudding, it is just an outward sign of how much love they had for the city and how much better all of us are because of Eleanor Wells and Mary Rose Owens. Absolutely. So thank you.
Thank you very much for doing this.
And so Two things come to mind. One is I love my wife dearly, but I doubt she has ever told anybody I have to get home to make my husband snack.
That's why we both remember it.
Yeah, and two is, and this is completely up to you, but it seems to me like you could keep this alive by making banana pudding and pick a date of the year to either serve that here or at a city event or something and make a big deal about the, right?
Looks like we have another festival coming.
So I'm good at coming up with ideas for other people to do, right?
We should have brought some tonight.
Oh, yeah, that's right, we should have.
Who's in charge of the recipe now? Who's in charge of the recipe going forward?
Gil wants to know who's in charge of the recipe.
Huh? Who's going to be making it? I mean, there's never been a function without it there. I know.
Yep. Two more. Next one is for Water Safety Month, and our own Tiffany Beltran, who is the aquatics supervisor at the Family Rec Complex, is here to accept. Good evening. Long time no see.
I know, it's hard to follow up behind banana pudding.
Yeah. It is, I know. So whereas the City of Temple Terrace is committed to providing water safety education to all residents and visitors, according to the Florida Department of Health, Florida is ranked the highest in the U.S. for drowning deaths among children ages 1 through 4. In 2025, the state of Florida recorded 73 fatal drownings, 49 of which involved children under the age of 4. Whereas, as a community, we understand the essential role that protecting our children from accidental drowning is everyone's responsibility, and understand the vital importance of providing access to water safety education programs to families and individuals of all ages. Whereas we recognize that it takes a collaborative effort among all groups within the community to be advocates for water safety education. Water Safety Month is an opportunity to promote water safety and provide education on the prevention of recreational water-related injuries, illnesses, and deaths. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim the month of May as Water Safety Month. And Ms. Beltran, I think you have a few comments to make and maybe a video to share with us.
This year, our family recreation team has worked alongside other departments to provide tips and tricks for Water Safety Month. We've worked with Code Department to provide backyard safety for National Pool Opening Day and our Marine Unit for Boater Safety Week. However, I know it's an unusual request to have a video on a proclamation, but Kevin Templin has put together a short video that highlights water safety within our community, and we'd like to show that to you guys tonight.
Very good. So I don't know who's going to cue that up. Has Brian got that? There we go.
In Florida, drowning is the leading cause of unintentional death for children ages 1 to 4. Drowning is fast, silent, and can happen to anyone. Water is a part of life here in Temple Terrace, but safety has to come first. Swim lessons are one of the most effective ways to reduce risk. They build confidence and teach life-saving skills like floating, treading water, and safely reaching the edge. For those out on the water, boater safety matters. Wearing a life jacket, staying alert, and being prepared can prevent emergencies before they happen. And at a home or in a community pool, active supervision is key. Always keep eyes on the water, designate a water watcher, and minimize distractions. This month, our aquatics team will be sharing important water safety messages with our community. Be sure to follow along and keep an eye out every Monday for new water safety videos. Together, we can help keep Temple Terrace safe around the water.
Very nice. Well, Tiffany, I appreciate what you do. I know the whole council does. I see you all the time out there teaching little babies to swim and float in the pool. It's kind of cool to watch. But
Thank you.
yeah, thank you so much for what you do. So, good job on the video. Okay, the last one is for National Police Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day. Chief Staley. Good evening. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And 111 law enforcement officers in the United States lost their lives in the line of duty last year. Preliminary reports as of April 14th, 2026 indicate that an additional 30 law enforcement officers throughout the United States have already lost their lives in the line of duty this year. Whereas Temple Terrace police officers play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of Temple Terrace police officers unwaveringly serve all people, safeguarding lives and property, protecting our community against violence and disorder, the innocent against deception, and the weak against oppression and intimidation. Whereas since the first recorded death of a law enforcement officer in 1786, more than 25,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice. Now therefore I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby proclaim the week of May 10th through 16th, 2026 as National Police Week and May 15th, 2026 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in the city of Temple Terrace, in memory and honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice or become permanently disabled during the performance of their duties. And so, Chief, would you like to say a few words, please?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. As you know, that law enforcement is an inherently dangerous profession sometimes. I regret to inform you that since the drafting of that proclamation, there have been an additional 6 officers killed in the line of duty, bringing the total up to 36 officers for this year alone. So I humbly accept this proclamation on behalf of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice and the brave men and women of the Temple Terrace Police Department.
Good, thank you, Chief. Thank you. Okay, if the council will extend me a little privilege as the chair, I'd like to move item 13A up, since our this is regarding the GO bond referendum. Is that correct? That's what we're doing, right? Okay. So GO bond referendum, we have Mr. Christopher Rowe from Bryant Miller Olive, PA, here to present. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Is it okay if we move you up?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Very, very much, sir. My name is Chris Rowe. I'm with the law firm Bryant Miller Olive, which serves as bond counsel to the city. I was here for enactment of the ordinance which called the referendum for the bonds to be held this summer. I understand there may be questions of me regarding the conduct of the referendum. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
Council? Councilmember Fernandez.
I think the primary concern is just to make sure that whatever we, either as council people or the city staff, are are using to advertise or educate, that we're not doing anything that would cause the referendum item to become tainted or null and void, or something that we shouldn't be saying.
Yes, ma'am, very good. So the relevant statute was adopted in 2009, and it basically allowed a city to transmit information concerning a forthcoming referendum to the electorate, provided the information that was transmitted was limited to factual matters and did not involve express advocacy for the defeat or passage of a referendum matter. So the upshot of the statute was, at the time, a city could, for instance, include a stuffer in the monthly utility bill describing the forthcoming bond referendum and factual information about it. It could buy TV ads, it could buy radio ads, newspaper ads, magazine ads, etc. The statute was amended fairly recently in 2022 to basically say now that a city may not spend any public funds on communications sent to electors, even if it's limited to factual information. So, as right now, you cannot spend any public funds on things like radio buys, television ads, even stuffers that would be included in the informational section of a utility bill, even if it's limited to factual information. You can, however, as board members, share your opinion on a forthcoming matter at any time, from the dais, out in the public, so long as you don't violate that prohibition against spending public monies to broadcast that message. How would that occur? If the city paid for an ad buy or paid for a television interview. You could not spread your opinion that way. If you're out in the public talking to constituents and you want to advocate for it because you believe that it should be passed, you're allowed to do that. Same with staff. Staff, acting as an agent of the city, can express its opinions, provided no public funds are spent to broadcast those opinions.
What about the presentation materials? For example, creating a PowerPoint slideshow or a video, even though it's factual information, that obviously was spent with city resources, but it's not transmitted, but it's taken to a location to present.
That same statute includes a number of items that are not precluded by the statute, one of which is reporting on the actions of the governing board, so long as the reporting is done in a fair and accurate manner. For instance, you could say, staff could inform the public that City Council has adopted a ordinance as of such and such a date calling a referendum. You are not precluded from posting factual information to the city website about the forthcoming referendum. You're not precluded from providing information in response to a request by the public. If someone asks you for information, you can provide factual information. And lastly, you are not prohibited from hosting or providing factual information at a public forum. So for instance, if you held a workshop, or if members of staff went out into the community and held a forum that the public was able to attend, you could provide information through PowerPoint. Generally, you would not want to have a situation where you're printing up 300 flyers and actively passing them out. But if that information was made available in a passive fashion at the entryway to the meeting room, people could help themselves to it as they came in. It's really a prohibition against the spending of public funds, with certain exceptions that I've just laid out. So.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor, Councilmember Kravitz. Councilmember Kravitz.
Sure. Thank you very much for the memo. I read it. Very well done, and it answered a lot of questions. Very, very much appreciate you taking the time to commit your thoughts to writing and to share them with us. So before I say anything else, I really appreciate that, and I'm very grateful for it. Thank you. I have a question regarding some of the terminology. When you use the phrase public forum, the two things that you mentioned were a workshop or a town hall. That kind of thing is very intuitive to me. That makes sense. If we have, for example, a membership-only club like the Temple Terrace Golf and Country Club, is a staff presentation there considered a public forum?
If it is open to the members of the public, generally, then it would be a public forum. If the audience is itself a contained subset of the public, you said a golf club, like membership of a country club?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think that would be allowed as well. The members of the country club comprise the public for purposes of the forum.
Okay, so when it comes to political organizations that are also membership-based, for example, a Democratic club or a Republican club, there's no issue if a city official were to go to one of those and give a presentation as well?
Open to the public?
I would presume it's not broadly advertised. I don't know whether the individual clubs...
Whether or not there are limitations on presentations to a political action committee, that I don't know offhand. The statute is couched in terms of public forum. So that would include a city meeting, a workshop of a smaller nature. Political action committee might be a little different. I'd have to research that. I don't know offhand.
Am I also correct in reading your memo such that the five of us, as elected officials, have an unabridged right to speak about the general obligation bond at any time in any way?
You do, so long as you are not funding from public funds broadcasting of your opinion, basically.
Okay. And when it comes to the expenditure of public funds, how is staff time treated?
If it's something that is occurring through their course of their normal duties, then there is no prohibition. If it's something that someone was paid extra, like overtime in order to conduct, paid for staff time where they were otherwise off and they weren't engaged in performing their duties on behalf of the city, that could fall within the prohibition.
In other words, if staff are seconded away from their usual tasks during the course of a day in order to take time to give a presentation, even if it is not overtime, it would not be considered expenditure of public funds?
Yeah, if the sharing of information is something that is typically undertaken by that staff member, speaking to the public to address matters regarding not only referenda but other city affairs, then I don't think that would constitute a prohibition, a prohibited expenditure.
Okay, and I may have one more question, but it's lapsed my mind at the moment, so I was in the process of writing things down when an opportunity to speak came up. So I may circle back in a moment if anyone else would like to have the floor, so I yield for now.
In the meantime, I will make a note to look into the question you asked about the Political Action Committee.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
I don't think we have anything else unless you can think of it, Mr. Kravitz.
It'll probably come to me in about 2 minutes, but...
Well, you want to look through your notes? I'll give you a second if you want to look through your notes.
I'm just browsing through the memo. Maybe it'll jog my memory. I appreciate it. A moment. I'll take a pass. I'm sorry.
I'll ask a question here to make a clarification. So I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth or anything, but the Political Action Committee wasn't exactly the question. It was the local Republican club or the Democrat club, which is really a club of local Democrats or a club of local Republicans or a club of local whatevers. It's not really, they're not a PAC. They're not organized as a PAC or anything like that. So I think that was more the group. And as to the question whether they're open to the public or not, they're probably not routinely. I mean, the Democrat club generally invites their Democrat members, and the Republican club doesn't. I mean, I don't know what they would do if you just walked in, but it's not something that's normally like advertised that, hey, we're going to have, you know, come on over kind of thing. But that's also been the case with the Rotary Club. You know, they have their meetings, their luncheon, you know, every Sertomas. I mean, there's a number of service clubs and Boy Scouts. I mean, we pretty much, not we, I haven't been doing it, but I mean, pretty much talking to any group that we can get in front of that's local residents. So some of them, I don't know, when you say public meeting, I don't know that they're like closed, but they're not exactly like a town hall meeting.
Yes, sir. I understand better now. The statute is written to basically focus on the expenditure of public funds, and it says here are instances where you're allowed to do it, and it does not constitute a prohibited expenditure of funds. If staff member met with a particular group that wasn't necessarily open to the public, but did not spend public funds to transmit a message, it's not prohibited by the statute.
Okay. Did you think of it? Okay, Councilmember Kravitz.
Thank you very much for buying me a minute. I appreciate the consideration. So the question goes to some of the phrasing. In terms of electioneering language, some of the words that might be put out are normative, like modern, or that the new building is more suitable, or that it meets our needs. And I was looking through your memo, and I wondered whether any of those phrasings might be going too far.
So the allowance is factual matters. And what is a factual matter may be difficult to discern in a given example, may be open to interpretation. If, for instance, a message was sent that having a new fire station in an area of town that does not otherwise have one will improve response times, is that a factual statement? I think you could probably assume that if a station is installed in an area that doesn't have one, the people in that area, when they make the call, they'll receive a faster response than had the station not been there. Is it 100% factual for, I don't know, verification purposes? Might be open to interpretation. My reading of that particular example, in this case, however, is that, yeah, I think it's factually safe to say we'll improve response times in your neighborhood by building a fire station in your neighborhood.
Okay, so there is some leeway given there. So if one were to say, for example, the new station will be more modern, then one could argue that because it's being built now, that's factually a true statement.
I agree, yes, because it's being built now as opposed to relying on facilities that are 30 years old and by definition not modern, then I think that would be allowable as a factual statement.
Great, thank you.
Probably a safe course, though, in these matters is if there is any question, if it's a close call, probably better to avoid it, but none of the examples that we've discussed so far I think are out of the range of acceptable within the definition of factual information.
Okay, I'm greatly relieved to hear that. Thank you very much. I enjoyed this conversation. Thank you very much for that, too.
Yes, sir.
And it's also good to know that all of us who are elected officials can speak freely on this topic going forward.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I yield.
Anything else? Mr. Rowe, thank you so much for making the long drive from Tallahassee to be with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Mayor, council members, thank you. And thank you for allowing me to come out of turn. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Next, we have a presentation from our Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee here. Mr. Buffington, who is the chair, is here to present modernizing bicycle parking and end-of-trip facilities in the city of Temple Terrace. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Brent Buffington, and I serve as the chair of the city's Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee. Tonight, BPAC is bringing forward a recommendation to modernize how our development code supports people who bike by asking the city to explore standards for bicycle parking and end-of-trip facilities. As a brief reminder for the public, the Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee was formed in 2022 to advise the mayor, city council, and city administration on matters involving bicycle and pedestrian safety, infrastructure, and the convenience of cycling and walking on city streets and facilities. As Temple Terrace continues to grow, we have an opportunity to ensure that new developments support safe, convenient, and practical transportation options for all residents, whether they drive, walk, or bike. People are already biking in Temple Terrace, but our development code does not consistently support them once they arrive at their destination. Without up-to-date standards, the results vary. Some developments may provide convenient bicycle parking or storage, while others may provide little or none. That leaves residents, visitors, and employees and customers to figure it out on their own. We can improve this going forward with simple, flexible standards that apply to new development. The goal is not making biking the only option. The goal is making biking a practical option. That means supporting everyday trips to work, shops, parks, schools, and other destinations, not just recreational rides. Bicycle parking and end-of-trip facilities help make that possible. This includes short-term parking near entrances, secure long-term storage for employees and residents, and where appropriate, basic end-of-trip facilities such as lockers, changing areas, or showers. These are the kinds of small but important details that make everyday biking viable. I briefly want to define what we mean by bicycle parking and end-of-trip facilities. Bicycle parking generally falls into two categories. The first is short-term bicycle parking. These are racks located near entrances for customers, visitors, or anyone making a shorter trip. The second is longer-term bicycle parking. This is more secure storage intended for people who may be leaving a bike for several hours or overnight, such as employees or residents. Both types matter because they serve different needs. A customer shopping at a business needs something visible and convenient. An employee or a resident needs something more secure and protected. End-of-trip facilities are the additional supports that make biking more practical for longer or more routine trips. These can include lockers, changing areas, and in some cases, showers. Not every development would need these same facilities. The point is to create standards that are flexible and appropriate to the type and scale of the development. Together, bicycle parking and end-of-trip facilities help answer a basic question. If someone chooses to bike here, is there a safe, secure, and practical place for them when they arrive? This is what helps move biking from something people only do recreationally to something they can use for everyday transportation. Updating our development code aligns with the work the city is already doing. It supports our safe streets goals, aligns with recent multimodal planning efforts, enhances access to parks, schools, and businesses, improves health and safety outcomes, and strengthens local economic activity. This also connects directly to what residents have told us. During the recent multimodal trail network study, survey respondents ranked parks, shopping, and neighborhoods among the top places where they want better walking and biking connections. But those connections do not end at the sidewalk, the trail, or the street. They end at the destination. So if we're asking how to make it easier for people to bike to parks, shops, schools, and neighborhoods, we also need to ask what is waiting for them when they arrive. These are not experimental policies. Modern bicycle parking standards are already being used by cities of different sizes in different regions and with different development patterns. For this review, our committee looked at examples from both Florida communities and national recognized bike-friendly cities. That includes Florida examples like St. Petersburg, Pembroke Pines, and Gainesville, as well as medium-sized cities such as Fort Collins and Madison, which have incorporated bicycle parking into their development or zoning standards. The point is not that Temple Terrace should copy any one city exactly. The point is that these standards are common, scalable, and adaptable. Staff can review what other cities have done, identify what is appropriate for our local context, and bring back recommendations tailored to Temple Terrace. And this is important. This recommendation does not create any new operating expenses for the city. These types of improvements we are discussing would be incorporated into new development or substantial redevelopment, similar to other site requirements that are already reviewed during the permitting process. Developers already designed around requirements for automobile parking, ADA accessible spaces, landscaping, stormwater, sidewalks, and other site features. Bicycle parking and, where appropriate, end-of-trip facilities would function in a similar way. They would be considered as part of the site design, reviewed during permitting, and scaled based on the type and size of the development. So the cost is not borne by the city's operating budget. It is integrated into the development process. We also expect that administrative impact to be limited because this would be reviewed through existing planning, zoning, and permitting procedures. The BPAC is not suggesting that the city create these standards from scratch. Staff would be directed to use established national guidance, including the Association for Pedestrian and Bicycle Professionals bicycle parking guidelines, to ensure any proposed code updates reflect best practices. That guidance addresses practical details such as rack placement, spacing, accessibility, visibility, security, and the difference between short-term and long-term parking. The purpose of using established guidance is to make sure that whatever comes back to council is technically sound, realistic, and appropriate for the city. And to be very clear, we are not asking council to adopt an ordinance tonight. We are asking for the direction for staff to evaluate this issue and bring back recommendations. From where we sit, we see the proposed process starting off with staff reviewing BPAC's draft concepts and benchmarking against peer cities. From there, staff could evaluate the planning, zoning, legal, and administrative considerations. BPAC, our committee, would remain available as a resource throughout the process, providing feedback and helping review options as they are developed. If staff determines that code updates are appropriate, the next step would be draft ordinance development and return to City Council for consideration. So tonight's request is simply to begin the review process. The reason to act now is that development is already happening, and development patterns can be difficult and expensive to change later. When bicycle parking and end-of-trip facilities are considered early in the site design process, they can often be incorporated in a practical and cost-effective way. But when those needs are not considered until after a site is built, the result is often less convenient, less secure, and more expensive to retrofit. This is a low-cost, high-impact opportunity to make sure that as Temple Terrace grows, it grows in a way that supports safe, practical transportation choices. Small changes to the code today can help prevent larger gaps in the built environment later. So tonight, BPAC respectfully requests that City Council provide direction for staff to evaluate bicycle parking and end-of-trip facility standards for new development and substantial redevelopment. Specifically, we're asking Council to direct staff to review the committee's draft materials, evaluate peer city examples, coordinate with BPAC during the process, and return with recommendations for Council consideration. Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Mr. Buffington. Council members, other questions for Mr. Buffington? Councilmember Kravitz. Oh, he got you. Councilmember Kravitz.
Yeah, thank you very much. So, great presentation, and I just wondered if you could maybe share what some of these changes mean to you personally and to other bicyclists in the community.
Anecdotally, just personally, as someone who does cycle throughout the city at multiple places, you know, I'll share a positive of what these look like and then also a negative. Someone who frequents the rec center often, it's great having racks right there at the front. It's easy, accessible. You pull up, you're able to park. And with all things, there's improvements that can be made to those. But then you go to other places, other plazas, businesses, places that we'd like to shop. I won't name plazas by name, but I'll go to a plaza and it's really inconvenient. There's no place to lock to. You kind of have to kind of make do with what you have. Sometimes you just have to lock the bike to the wheel itself and you can't really lock it to anything because there's nothing accessible around. And those are just the short-term examples. As you get into the longer term, you know, if you were going to your job and you were leaving it there for 8 hours, or for any of our residential apartment complexes where people choose to lock up their bikes and hope that no one, you know, tampers with them, and so on and so forth, safe from the elements, weather. But, you know, in talking with other people, not just from our committee, but through other community activities as we're out in the public, you know, we know that people are out there and they're using their bikes, as we mentioned, you know, obviously the recreational side, but then there are limitations in those endpoint destinations that often prevent people from kind of making that decision to say, yeah, I am going to go take the bicycle to go there. So,
excellent, yeah, great. And just for my own memory, the request at the end, was it 3 parts, namely evaluate the landscape and make a recommendation, review the committee's draft materials and have that flow into the recommendation, and then the third one was, I think, consult with the committee, or what was the specific thing?
Loosely, the request is to review, just because we did some research, you know, rather than having to start from scratch, some of the draft materials that the committee pulled together, evaluating the peer cities, coordinating with the committee through the process so that there's a open ear, you know, someone to help kind of look at it, and then returning back should there be a decision to make adjustments to the code for council. So,
thanks. I yield.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So my questions really are for staff, and that is, what do we already do? I know that when we build or renovate a playground, that we do include bicycle parking, but in terms of commercial development, what do we do as part of our development process?
If I could ask Mr. Pauly to come up, he may be able to speak to this a little bit more specifically than I can. I know we do not require what Mr. Buffington is seeking, sort of the end-of-trip facilities in terms of changing rooms, lockers, showers. We do not have that requirement. And I understand fully what he's saying, because I've been around long enough that I've seen this in communities where it depends on scale. If you have a large facility, for example, like an Amazon facility, that would be one where you could see it has a certain threshold that it would meet. It wouldn't be typically a burden on small facilities. Now, as to simple things or simpler things like bike racks, I don't know if Mr. Pauly could speak to what our current requirements are, if any.
Sure, thank you, sir. The current standard for commercial properties, once the parking deck is calculated, we ask for 10% of the parking deck. So 100 parking spaces at any given commercial site, we would want to see bicycle racks to support 10% of that, 10 bikes.
Okay, and do we have any requirements right now where we might specify where the bicycle parking would need to be, or is that totally left up to the developer?
It's actually all part of the development review committee site plan review. I know that you may recall many site plans come before this council, and it's hard to see sometimes, but there's always, on those commercial sites, there's always location for bicycle racks. So for me to be able to recite a hard standard, that would be difficult right now, but I can tell you that those are all reviewed by the Development Review Committee.
Okay, so I know that this is not just bicycle, but the pedestrian walkability, golf cart access, bicycle use in the community, especially from the interior to the perimeter streets, is something that is very interesting to people. So, I mean, I would agree that, I don't know that I would say that we have to write in like an end-use facility, including showers and all of that. Like, I don't know that I want to be like super rigid, but I definitely think that this is something that needs to be considered as part of all development.
Members, questions?
Thank you.
No questions. No questions. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Buffington. So I don't know if this will come up under new business or not. It might. I hate to tell you that and have you wait through the whole meeting and it not, but I do expect that there will be further conversation on the presentation. So, Councilmember Kravitz.
Just curious, are we not going to move into a discussion after the question session?
No. We can do it under new business, though, if you care to bring it up under new business.
Since I have the floor, perhaps I could make a motion now.
I would call it out of order at this point in the meeting, but you may make a motion.
Not if you're going to call it out of order.
Well, I'd be happy, this is where we would go into new business or council business, either one. I'd be happy to hear from you, but not, this is not where we do this now. But we can do it in the meeting, it's just not right to say. Okay. Okay, we have one board appointment to the Municipal Code Enforcement Board. There's one regular member vacancy on the MCEB. The city received one application for reappointment from Gina D'Angelo. I do not see Ms. D'Angelo here, so if acceptable, council, is there a motion to approve her appointment for a term extending until March 21st, 2029?
Yes. Move to appoint Gina, sorry, it's my board, Gina D'Angelo on the Municipal Code Enforcement Board as a regular member from a period ending on March 21, 2029.
Second.
Motion second. Discussion of the appointment? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. Ms. D'Angelo is reappointed. Thank you. Next is discussion of the minutes from April 21st. If everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes, is there a motion?
I have a
Councilmember Kravitz.
Thank you. I'm not going to make a motion because I'm getting really tired of how that typically goes. So I'm just going to read briefly here so that this goes into this session's minutes. This was regarding the substance of the policy question that I raised at the previous meeting, and I'd like for the following to be put into the minutes today. The previous minutes simply said, I wanted to look into how these issues could be addressed. That is not what I said. I raised a specific and structural issue. The city's rental housing permit program currently applies to small rental properties. It does not encompass large multi-unit complexes. That is the asymmetry I asked about. That is the policy question that I wanted to address. So I would ask the clerk to please note in the record that my inquiry concerned the scope of the rental housing permit program and whether it would be extended or could be extended to large multi-unit residential complexes. That can be in this meeting's minutes, and then we won't have to worry about the previous meeting's minutes. And just as an aside, I did read what was said about the residents who came to public comment at the previous meeting, and the minutes only captured that they came to talk about water shutoffs and various other issues. They addressed so many additional things going beyond that: mold, vermin, sewage backups. It was an extensive discussion, and I'm a little disappointed that none of that made it into the minutes. So that's my second comment for these minutes. And with that, I'll yield my time.
Thanks, Council.
Move to approve the minutes.
Second.
Any further discussion of the minutes? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
One nay. Okay. Persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda or items on the consent agenda. We have a 30-minute time limit for public comments at this portion of the meeting. If necessary, we extend the public comment portion at the end of the meeting to accommodate all speakers so everybody would be heard. We rarely have to do that, but I like to say that once in a while in case we ever have to do it. They don't think I'm just making that up. There's a 3-minute time limit imposed on all speakers. We do ask that the speakers come to the podium and state your name and city of residence. During public comment on items not on the agenda or items on the consent agenda, I do want to assure everybody that your comments are taken seriously, and if you raise an issue for follow-up, that we do follow up on those. And so the first request I have to speak is from Normandy. I don't know, is it Piccolo or Piccolo? Piccolo, I thought so, but I wasn't sure. Good evening, ma'am. Hi.
I'm just going to be reading. So, okay. The residents of Victoria Terrace.
Your name and city.
Oh, I'm sorry. Normandy, Piccolo, and Temple Terrace. Actually, right across the street. Okay. The residents of Victoria Terrace have been getting subjected to loud music played outside daily and nightly from a business located in Terrace Oaks Plaza at 11401 North 56th Street, suite number 22. No other establishment in the plaza plays music outside. Why is this business permitted to do so when backing a residential neighborhood? Sound carries no matter the volume. Why should the residents of Victoria Terrace have their peace disrupted throughout the day and night until after 10 p.m., and even then the music continues? Many residents are dealing with health issues, work at home, have jobs, and have small children who need sleep. Many residents want peace and quiet day and night. The next issue. Continuous toxic odors coming from suite number 24 in the Terrace Oaks Plaza. It is causing health problems, burning lungs and eyes, coughing, nausea, and migraines. This is not a food odor. I reached out to the Temple Terrace Code Enforcement via phone months ago about my concerns, only to be repeatedly blown off. So I contacted the Environmental Protection Commission, and they discovered that Suite 24 was not only disposing of used coals by illegally dumping them into the nature reservoir behind the plaza, but also soaking the used coals in toxic chemicals. I want to know how the city of Temple Terrace permitted this business to open without making sure they had the required cold dispensary unit and proper filtration for any odors coming from the business. No other food establishments in Terrace Oaks Plaza are smelled in Victoria Terrace, only Suite 24. Between the loud music at Suite 22 and the toxic chemical odors from Suite 24, the residents of Victoria Terrace have been denied their right to peace and quiet and the ability to breathe clean air. We can't enjoy the outdoors without toxic odors and continual music. A proper filtration system needs to be added to Suite 24 to deter any and all aromas from seeping over into Victoria Terrace, and the music at Suite 22 needs to be moved indoors. The music impacts adversely on residential peace and quiet to which we are entitled in our homes. Terrace Oaks Plaza, along with other plazas up and down 56th Street, were not designed for the level of activity currently taking place. How is the city permitting obvious hazards like overcapacity and fire safety? During festivals at Terrace Oaks Plaza, Victoria Terrace has been subjected to vandalism, large amounts of garbage strewn on our property, which residents are forced to pick up because it's so unsightly. We've endured rat and roach infestations due to the large amounts of garbage being generated and improperly disposed of by the businesses at Terrace Oaks Plaza. I have lived in Temple Terrace since 2003, the city of trees. It was once a quaint small town, family-oriented, diverse cultures. Now it feels as if the city only cares about revenue and not the residents. Temple Terrace has morphed into an Ybor city via these plazas that, again, were not built for all of this activity. I'd like to set up a meeting to discuss fixing these issues along with traffic and garbage, too, that are affecting Victoria Terrace residents. I've started a petition regarding these matters, and 35 residents of Victoria Terrace have signed to date. We have rights, too. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Could I ask you to please
Yes, ma'am.
go stop over at the clerk? And we need a way to follow up with you. We don't have any contact information.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you leave an email or phone number?
Yeah, absolutely, of course.
City manager, you're going to have staff follow up and circle back to the council and let us know the outcome? Okay, thank you. Mr. Loeb. Good evening, sir.
Charles Loeb, Terrace Park, and first of all, I want to wish everybody who's Hispanic happy Cinco de Mayo. Also, it's a Jewish holiday today, Lag Romir, so I want to wish everybody that's happy about that. And of course, finally, happy Mother's Day coming up this Sunday. Having that being said, I did want to talk about Cinco de Mayo, thinking about some very pleasant memories I had last year about what I did over the HARD board meeting on Cinco de Mayo, which I've already discussed with the board chairman. I would, if I had to do over, I would do it again to try to let them remind them in the state that it is our money, not their money, to do with as they please. So I did want to bring that up, and as I was telling him, to go after the money and get more of it for the changes that are coming up. One of the changes that are coming up, of course, is over, besides the stadium, is over at the Museum of Science and Industry. I went to the zoning meeting on April 23rd, and of course, this is going to affect your lives as well as the lives over there. They did approve it, but I did express certain concerns, and I also got certain answers. And frankly, I'm willing to take any comments or anything like that, I have questions or anything like that, and bring it up before the Terrace Park Neighborhood Association Board, or even go downtown again to answer some of the questions that I would have about the project that's going to be coming up. I have heard concerns about the daycare, about when it's going to be moved. They also said where it's going to be moved, but they didn't, or how far it's going to be moved, but not exactly where. I've heard concerns about not having enough housing. I've heard concerns about, sort of petition about closing the elementary school over at the USF campus. I also have a couple of my own other concerns, obviously about the public transportation. Their report was based on the Fowler Avenue Vision Study, and that the reality is kind of a long distance away from that. Also, of course, about the fire trucks when the fire station opens over there. But like I say, if anybody has any questions, I may know the answer to it, or I'd like to find out if anybody is interested. Now, when I say anybody, I mean not only you all on the council, I mean the city staff or any of the residents or anything like that, because this affects your lives too, what's going to be happening over there. From what I was told, all the programs except for the daycare program will be continued that Moshi has. I guess while the work is going on and all that. This is what I was told downtown last week. They're going to have another meeting on the 21st. And,
Thank you, Mr. Loeb. Diane Stripik? Stripik or Stripik? Stripik. Stripik. I had a 50-50 chance.
It's Diane Skripek, Temple Terrace. Thank you. I just want to take a moment to discuss traffic safety. This issue is currently in the forefront of many townspeople's minds and hearts for obvious reasons. And I offer sincere prayers and thoughts for all recently involved and personally impacted at any level. As I strive to be aware of my driving and pay attention to others, I see how the defensive and offensive driving techniques have an appropriate deploy. Sadly and alarmingly, though, I frequently witness the following bad driving decisions. More cars and cyclists are sailing through solid red lights, not using appropriate turn signals at important junctures, willful, dangerous, and disrespectful actions, not pulling over for emergency vehicles, nor yielding to pedestrians, etc. Hillsborough County, as we know, is home to a sizable percentage of those born in other states like me, and countries who obtained a driver's license elsewhere. Even though the basics of traffic lights and signs are mostly standardized, there are differences among even states and on other important road regulations. Now, if we had a show of hands from those who are here about who had an update or refresher after obtaining their initial driver's license, undoubtedly it would be very far from the majority. Almost 40 years ago for me, and things have certainly changed, not just in terms of some road rules, but technology, attitudes, due diligence, awareness, and hazards. I am very grateful for the ongoing commitment that our dedicated officers exhibit on this front. When I was pulled over on 56th Street last year, I was surprised, as I normally don't speed unless I'm heading to the airport. But I was truly grateful, and I took it as a reminder. Now, if upon seeing your shocking insurance bill, you've called the company, as I did, to tell them that there is surely a mix-up given your good driving record, you learn then that our zip codes, which are akin to a piss-poor report card, they tell of these costly consequences. The bottom line is, I am willing to volunteer in any citizens' initiative to proactively encourage and educate concerned residents. It would be based on relevant data for safer driving and productive engagement to reduce accidents, lower insurance costs, and most importantly by far, protect lives and well-being. I believe together we could develop something in Temple Terrace which other parts of our county could benefit from. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Strippick. Last, Mr. Balaban. Good evening.
My name is Don Balaban. I've lived in Temple Terrace over 41 years. I live on 914 North River Hills Drive. I moved there from Allenbrook Street on the other side of the river about 3 years ago. I'm here to talk about several things. First off, on the bonds for the police and fire station. Your mayor knows I'm pro-law enforcement. I worked for the sheriff's office 35 years. And I helped get grants. I did everything for them. But anyway, and I helped this community a lot over the years. But you got to get your information out more correctly also. Not just get it out, but you got to sell it, okay? And to be honest with you, I'll get about a D on that. What that gentleman said earlier, go back and see what the school board did to brainwash all your low-income people and renters and pass one of the biggest taxes in the history of Hillsborough County, your school tax, a private amendment separate from your regular school tax. Increase my taxes $600 a year, okay? They used the unions to help put signs up at every school for every parent. They went to all the low-income areas, put signs up, because they vote too. But they don't pay property taxes. The landlords do, and owners like us, homeowners. Well, that's how you're going to have to try to get the word out. Use the Chamber of Commerce, other people. The Beacon put out an article, and I had to call Temple Terrace to get additional information, but it was something at least. And then I got with Ellen and got some more information. It had in there that your average tax was going to be about $188 on an average house at $200,000. That might be a duplex over here right near the city limits. The average house in Temple Terrace, I'm assuming, is $350 to $500, maybe $600. When I called, the lady said, well, it's assessed value. And I said, I understand assessed value. But if you bought a house recently here, you don't have a whole lot of Save Your Home that came with it. And your assessed value is a lot more than $180,000. My taxes are going to go up $450,000. $450 a year. Now, with that, that's about a 20th of my retirement from the sheriff's office. I have other income. I'm a very successful person. But I'm just giving you how you look at it. Also, on that tax, it should be capped at the first $200,000 of every resident here, because most people that pay taxes don't call the police department. I think I've called them 3 times in 41 years. Handled most things myself. I called them, and I can tell you the 3 calls probably in 41 years. That's most people here. We've got a lot of law-abiding citizens. It's the apartment complexes and the low income where your crime is and all of that. Okay, so this don't affect them like it does us. Limited at 200,000. I don't know if you factored in, but in 10 years, I'm gonna be paying 30% more in taxes because my taxes go up. It's capped at 3% a year. So in 30 years, but I have other things I could tell you how to help bring in income for Temple Terrace. So if y'all wanna, Andy, the mayor knows how to get hold of me. I'll be glad to share it with you.
Thank you. Are there other members of the public who wish to address the council at this time? Okay, seeing none, council, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. Consent agenda is adopted. Next item is the first reading of an ordinance amending section 1-104, enforcement procedures, and 1-105, schedule of violations and penalties. And our code enforcement director, Jack Shanks, is here to explain. Good evening, Mr. Shanks.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Jack Shanks, Code Compliance. The item before you tonight is a proposed amendment to Chapter 1 of the City Code that would update verbiage, add applicable code sections to the table of Class 2 violations, and establish a new Class 4 violation category within our existing civil citation framework. I want to begin by emphasizing one key point, that this amendment is not intended to generate revenue. The purpose of this update is to improve citywide adherence to codes that already exist and are already enforceable today. What this amendment does is allow certain repeatable violations to be addressed more effectively and more immediately through civil citation rather than relying solely on longer, notice-driven enforcement processes. In Section 1-104, subsection D, verbiage has been added to include the terms itinerant and transient. This allows for the inclusion of violations that can be complied with and then recur quickly. It includes violations such as yard parking or commercial vehicles in residential areas, as well as certain violations relating to the short-term rental program where the renters change frequently. Our code enforcement officers are authorized to issue citations only for those violations specifically listed in the schedule of violations and penalties. The violations proposed for inclusion under Class 2 and the new Class 4, as you see here, are all existing code provisions. Nothing new is being prohibited. The challenge we encounter with these types of violations is that most are easily repeatable, and under our current code enforcement structure, there is little immediate incentive for sustained compliance. This becomes an irritant for neighbors and businesses who abide by the city's code, yet witness a drawn-out compliance process for violators which, in the case of the code sections proposed this evening, should have achieved compliance immediately. You'll note the inclusion of Code Section 12-900 for swimming pool safety barriers in Class 2 violations. While this is typically not a violation that is repeated or recurring, it is a life safety issue that warrants immediate action by the property owner. In a situation like this, a citation will be issued immediately. In practice, and apart from Section 12-900, which I just mentioned, we often see the same violation types recur after temporary correction, which creates ongoing neighborhood impacts and increased staff time without achieving a long-term resolution. This ordinance update is intended to change that dynamic. By allowing civil citations for these specific violations, the city can encourage quicker and more consistent compliance, reduce repeat violations, and ultimately reduce the need for prolonged enforcement cases. The goal is behavioral correction and not punishment, and the intent is not to issue citations indiscriminately, but to provide our officers with an additional tool when voluntary compliance has proven ineffective or when immediate correction is necessary. With respect to the proposed fine amounts for Class 4 violations, the ordinance establishes a graduated structure of a $250 fine for the first offense and $500 for any second or subsequent offense of the same violation. I apologize, this slide did not change. I updated it recently, I'll explain. The structure is intentional. In keeping with our already established enforcement process, any courtesy notice or citation will be directed to the property owner against that property. An initial violation with few exceptions will result in a courtesy notice with a reasonable correction period, as well as an attempt at direct contact from the code compliance team to determine if assistance is needed. If non-compliance is exhibited, or if the violation results in initial compliance, followed by a pattern of non-compliance, escalation to the citation will commence. The first offense fine following the previous issuance of a courtesy notice is designed to serve as a meaningful prompt for compliance, while still allowing the responsible party an opportunity to correct the issue. The higher fine for repeat offenses reflects the fact that continued noncompliance occurs after notice and enforcement has already taken place. This approach aligns with the city's graduated enforcement philosophy by distinguishing between initial violations and repeated disregard of the code, and by encouraging long-term compliance rather than repeated corrective cycles. If compliance is achieved, no further fines are imposed. In summary, this ordinance strengthens our ability to enforce the codes already on the books, improves compliance outcomes, and supports neighborhood stability without expanding regulation or creating new prohibitions. And we recommend approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members' questions. Councilmember Schuster.
Yes, thank you, sir. A good presentation. I have some concerns as to how this is going to be monitored, if you will. I know with code enforcement actions, we go through, your staff goes through, okay, they go out, they leave a courtesy notice, then they come back. If it's not cleared up, they take pictures, and there's the issuance of a certified letter to the owner and postings and so forth. And I've watched on the code meetings that you present this evidence as part of the thing. How are we going to make sure this keeps that type of stuff, that type of, I don't know the proper term, chain of evidence? I don't know, how is that going to be managed by your people to make sure that there's no abuse or that we don't have a potential issue?
So section 1-104 of our code already lays out the basis for everything as far as civil citations go.
Understood.
It talks about who is responsible for those and what happens if, for example, somebody doesn't pay their citation. When it comes to internally how we're going to monitor that, it's going to be like we do it now. Nothing's really going to change. We'll go out there, we'll identify something. One of the things I'm going to ask my officers to do, we're going to put a policy in place, is they contact the office prior to writing the civil citation. They're going to take pictures, date time stamped, so we have that documented. But generally, they're going to get the courtesy notice first. The courtesy notice is going to be just like the courtesy notices we have now, except it's going to specify that should the violation continue, the next thing is going to be the civil citation, first offense, second offense. And that's not just for the class 4 violations, it's for the class 2 violations as well.
Okay, if I get stopped by a police officer because I'm speeding and I get a ticket, there's a certain level of confidence of the training that goes into the officer, I did it, all right, and that type of thing. Unless I can go back and there's a way for me to actually fight it. What's going to be the mechanism to fight it if they feel it's unjustified? Now, don't misunderstand me. For the repeat offenders, absolutely. There's that goes on time and time again. I have a rental property, a VRBO 2 houses down from me, that constant grass is too high, parking is obscene, and we brought this up with the. I brought this up with the short-term rental things we tried to institute regarding parking. They don't park there. They park there now, but they're gone when anybody goes by there, and so we have repeat offenders. How is that going to be handled by your staff?
So just like a regular ticket, people do have the right to contest that. The very first, so 1104 subsection A, the county court shall have jurisdiction over all violations governed by this division. So once we write the ticket, it's going to go to the county court. Now, there's going to be a conversation that we're going to have with the county court or the clerk to determine how that process is going to look like up front, because they have 30 days to pay, right? In that first 30 days, are we going to hold that, or is it going to go directly to the court? We're going to establish that shortly with that meeting. But as far as the routine, like going out and identifying somebody's grass is too high. The intention is not to go out and just start throwing tickets out there. Really, the intention is to go out there, hey, your grass is too high, please cut it. Right now, if we do that, they're gonna get the window, so 15, 16 days per the courtesy notice. Then they get a notice of violation, so then there's another 15, 20, 30 days. They go to the code board after the notice of hearing, another 15 days. The code board is gonna give them 30 days. So that's a long time. The grass will be up to my waist in that instance. This way, we'll be able to go directly to this property, take the pictures. This is a violation. Here's your courtesy notice. Please cut your grass. Do you need assistance? We do that now, but this is going to be a little bit more direct. I think the response that we're going to get from people is like, we don't want to pay a fine. Let's go and get this cut. And if we need assistance, we have resources for that.
Okay, because we had a situation several weeks ago where a lady on Royal Green, I believe it was having a problem with code, and I just, we just make sure it doesn't get out of hand, and we don't have problem with the public on that. That's all. That's my concern.
This is just a tool.
I understand. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. If this passes tonight on first reading and then the next meeting, second reading, when does this go into effect?
So the next thing we have to do, well, there's a few things. I have to have those printed. I have to have the citations printed. I have citations now. We already have the ability to write citations. We just haven't because the citations that we write for like golf carts and snipe signs, and they're not really effective for what we do. So we're going to order the booklets. The next thing we have to do is work with the clerk of court, the county court, to ensure that that process is in place. I'm also going to write an internal policy for our department on exactly the steps that they have to take if they are going to write a citation.
Okay, thank you. So we don't really know yet.
Well, no, we do have a plan of attack for that, but we do have to set up the meeting with the clerk of court. Like I said, we already have the ability to do this. This is just adding to our capabilities of what we can do. So there's already a process in place. We're just going to tighten things up a little bit.
Okay, thank you. Couple more. On some of the things that we do here in the city, would these citations issued go to the code board for just information? Would there be a report to the code board how many were issued or not?
That is something we could do. We are going to be monitoring that closely. If we write a citation, we're going to be, just like we're doing with the water violations right now, we're monitoring how many of those we're doing. So when they get to the code board, these violations shouldn't get to the code board. The whole point is to identify them, get them fixed, and then move on. The code board is going to be for the bigger things, stop work orders, tree violations, and things
Sure,
like that.
But I was thinking just like lien reports and stuff that's handled by the city, now it goes to the code board periodically. Maybe this was something, I don't know, you might want to check with.
We could absolutely do that.
The code board or however that's done. And with liens, would liens on the citations happen just like if there are code violations that go before the code board and don't get paid?
So we're going to be working directly with the county court. So there's going to be a judge involved. The judge will then determine what's going to happen with that.
Okay, thank you. And the last one, Mayor, last question. Other jurisdictions, do they do this also?
Yes, yes. One of the ones I researched closely was Tampa. They have something very similar to ours. The codes they're using are a little bit different. Some of them are similar to ours that they're using the violations for, but yes, they're doing this.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Fernandez.
Okay, so I want to go a little bit further about what's going on in other jurisdictions. So two things. One is that with regard to the short-term rentals, and I know that we have very specific limits on what we can do as a city regarding management or oversight of short-term rentals. But for the items that we're looking to do, the citations, are there other jurisdictions that are applying this methodology to short-term rentals also?
I haven't researched short-term rentals. primarily what we're seeing in other jurisdictions are the regular codes. The two that I've attached here are primarily for the yard parking and assembly uses. I have seen those in other jurisdictions while I was doing the research for this, but they're not directly tied to the short-term rental ordinance.
Okay, but we would not have any difficulty, and because I know that my concern is that short-term rentals, while they have a wonderful benefit when you're traveling, but sometimes can be a negative on the community, that what we're doing is applicable to all properties, not just a owner-occupied or a short-term rental.
Correct. They're applicable across the city. The only two that are specifically to the short-term rentals are the one for the parking and the one for the assembly uses. The other ones apply across the board. The reason that those two are specific are because they affect the certificate of use, and they read differently because the person being cited is not the property owner. The person that violated is not the property owner. They're the people that are renting for the day or two, and then they're gone. The violation of certificate of use is very specific for that ordinance. That's why they're called out separately.
Okay, so as far as issuing a citation, I'm concerned about the strength of enforcement, let's say, because I know that I've had complaints about things in the past where someone has their boat in their driveway, and they get a notice that they're not allowed, they haven't even had it there 24 hours. They were just parking it there before they go drive it somewhere else, and they're like, how am I getting this citation? I haven't violated anything. So I'm a little bit concerned. How are we going to make sure that we're not excessively issuing citations? We're balancing, people living in their house and.
Sure. So it's just the process hasn't changed. It's exactly what we're doing right now. The only thing different is right now we're using the MCEB. So we still have the courtesy notice. They're still going to have that time. When our officers drive by a house and they identify a violation, let's say it's a boat in a driveway, they're going to give them the courtesy notice, say, hey, just so you know, this is a violation. But it's not a citation. It's not a notice of violation. It's just a friendly notice that this is a violation of the city, and then we're going to monitor for the appropriate timeline because they're allowed to have the boat there for a few days. Same thing with campers, RVs. After that time frame goes on, at that point we would move to the notice of violation. But when we have these conversations, I would say 95% of the people that we interact with comply immediately. It's the smaller percentage of people that are really becoming an irritant to the neighbors, and they make up a good bit of the phone calls and emails that we get. In researching the ordinance or the codes that we inserted here, these are the ones that we've received the most complaints about. The 12900 for the swimming pool barriers. We added that one specifically because it doesn't happen frequently, but it's an important safety item here in the city because we are in Florida. There's a lot of pools around here, and we want to make sure that children are safe. So all that combined, nothing is really changing except for instead of going to the enforcement board, they'll get a citation.
Okay, so my last question is, what happens if we have people come to us saying that they have been excessively targeted? They get a citation, that citation is through the court. Right now, if something changes, if they were to come in front of code enforcement and for whatever reason code enforcement agrees or disagrees or whatever the outcome is, they're able to suggest lowering the fines or doing something like that. In this case, what are you seeing response-wise in other jurisdictions regarding community concerns?
So I can give a very specific example. My neighbor was actually parked the wrong way in front of his house. This just a few months ago. And received a citation for that. he violated something, he paid it and moved on. It didn't ruin his day, didn't ruin his life. It was just a learning experience. And I'll tell you right now, I will never park backwards in front of my house based on that. Really what we really want to happen is these courtesy notices that go out. It specifically shows what the citation amount is going to be. And that should be enough of a deterrent to say, let's just abide by the rules. We will have people that test and go to that first citation. And when that happens, just as I mentioned in the presentation, the hope is that fine, having that fine is enough to say, I'm not going to do it for the second one. I don't want that to happen. And the fine had to be enough to be an actual deterrent. If it's $25 or even $75, for some people, I actually had somebody told me, go ahead and fine me $75. It's worth it to me. While their neighbors are all complaining to us that we're not doing anything to curb the situation. This should be a deterrent. This is just a tool. I don't believe that we're going to end up having to write a lot of citations. And I actually see that in other jurisdictions as well when it comes to code compliance. Not the criminal side, code compliance.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kravitz, anything? Any questions? I have a couple. So help me make sure I understand this correctly, Mr. Shank. So we have the Schedule 2 and the Schedule 4 violations. Will the citation program completely take over and become the new mechanism of enforcement for these violations, or will we simultaneously use our current code board procedure that we've used for years, and concurrently at the same time we're using the citation program for other? Is that how this would work?
The intention for these specific codes that we've introduced tonight is to use them for specifically for the citations and pull them away from the board. It's still an option. We can do that. And there may be a time that we would revert to that. But for consistency and making sure that we're not treating somebody differently than we would somebody else, we're going to be consistent about that. So we would move to, for grass or commercial vehicles is a big one. Somebody parks a semi-truck in front of their house and we're getting all the phone calls. That's going to be a courtesy notice, please move your vehicle, followed by the citation. That wouldn't make it in front of the code board because it just takes so long to get in front of the code board. These violations are the ones that you can fix and then put right back again.
Okay, so that answered part of my question because I wondered about, okay, one resident in the city gets cited and goes the track of going to the code enforcement board, and the other same violation, the other person on another street gets a citation and goes a completely different track.
We won't do that.
Okay, well, then that being said, though, the first two, I think table 2, I think is what you call it, weeds, grass, and underbrush, and then another one, 10-34, duty to keep premises clean. Those are the bread and butter violations of the code board. That's what they do. I mean, probably 80% of the cases that go to the code board are those two, or some combination of one of those two.
Throughout the year, yes, sir.
So I have a little hesitation about these. I don't know how it would play out, and I'm trying to do this on the dais because truthfully I read this yesterday and I thought, well, this is okay, but after the discussion I'm like, I don't know if this is okay or not. A couple things I'm concerned about. One is weeds and duty to keep premises clean. Those types of cases, as you and your staff well know, they often involve, I mean, sometimes they're just scofflaws are too lazy to mow the grass, but oftentimes they're people who have whatever. I mean, they have illness in the family, they have, money problems, they have, there's a reason for these in many cases. The original intent of forming a code board for the city was to have a panel of your neighbors, your peers, the people that live in the city, to hear your plight, as it were, and to say, well, these are your neighbors, maybe not next door, but I mean, these are your peers, listening to your plight and taking that into account and saying, okay, we're going to give you whatever, or we're going to set the fine really low, or we're gonna, give you 60 or 90 days to comply instead of 30 because we recognize that there's some circumstances here that come into play. One is we're gonna lose that. And I think these two, the weeds and grass and the duty to keep premises clean, are two of the most common where that neighbor discretion is important. Two is, I don't know if we've talked to the chief judge about this, but I don't know how thrilled the courts are going to be to inherit. I mean, this is a pretty heavy load that we're going to transfer to the courts because these are the bread and butter cases. Now, a few years ago, we did start something a little different with the city attorney in that some of the more egregious ones that are not responsive to the code violations, they don't pay the lien's just running up, they don't fix the thing and the fines just keep escalating. The legal staff started taking some of those cases to court in lieu of the code board because there's a judge that says you got 30 days to pay. If you don't, I'm going to hold you in contempt and all that. But that's done on a very surgical and deliberate basis. It's not done like everybody whose grass is too high, right, doesn't get a citation. I don't know. I'm reluctant. I mean, some of these, yeah, I'm fine. Short-term rental, we have a new ordinance that's taking effect in July that enacts some restrictions on STRs that we don't currently have. Those are new violations because it's a new ordinance. Like, the short-term rental parking, it makes perfect sense. Short-term rental assembly, those kinds of things. To me, it comes down to the selection of which violations are going to receive a citation and which ones are going to go the routine route. But I see code board meetings being like 8 minutes long in the future because there's nothing for them to hear. Everything's going down to court. So help me, if you can, be more comfortable with this.
Got it. So please keep in mind that just like we do now, we're not trying to go after people we don't know what people are going through. When we drive by somebody's house and their grass is this tall, or I have a great example for you. We have a resident who was consistently parking their car in the yard. Our officer approached the house and said, hey, what is going on this property? Because we've given you the notice of violation and you haven't responded to us. What's going on here? And it turns out this resident was going through cancer treatment and she was also caring for her elderly father at the same time. She parked the car up there to get him into the house and just was too tired to move the car back. So we came up with a workaround for that to make sure that she was good, she was still in compliance, but it all comes down to communication. So what we're going to do is we're going to give the courtesy. It's not, we're just not going out there and just writing a citation. We're going out there, we're identifying the resident, we're going to speak to the resident, see if there's resources that are needed. We have resources. We've made relationships with different partner organizations. For example, cutting their grass. If they need the grass cut, they need their house pressure washed. Do they need a roof? There's options out there that we're going to assist people with, and we're tapping into those as we speak. The people that you're speaking of, they generally don't make it to the code board because we've already fixed that. Now, if somebody comes to us and they're fine, and there's really nothing going on, and they just don't feel like cutting the grass, that's a different story. If they don't make it through that 15 or so days for the courtesy notice, we will then move forward with a citation, because at that point it's a conscious decision not to abide by the city's code. And meanwhile, we're getting all these phone calls. The issue with taking something like that to the code board is it just lasts forever. We had one last year. It was actually one of my very first cases. It was a grass case, and it just kept going on and on and on. And the day before the hearing, he cut his grass. And then 2 weeks later, grass is growing again. We just repeated the cycle. So the citation really, we're not going out there going after people. We're giving the courtesy notice and giving plenty of time. We're giving resources and assistance. We're trying to make that contact, just like we're doing now. So please don't think that this is going to have us going out there and just, I got you.
Okay, so I hear what you're saying, but that's not what I'm fundamentally talking about. You and your staff exercise very good judgment now in turn. You've described that in several scenarios, and I don't doubt it because I know you guys, right? And I think all of us do. I understand that you use that discretion very wisely and judiciously now. When you go out there, you don't just whip out a notice of violation and send them to the code board now. So your use of discretion is going on now. It's going to continue to go on under a citation program. It's just what ultimately happens when you're at the end of the discussion. You got to do something. I am concerned. I'll read this between first and second reading if it passes tonight, and I can't speak for the whole council. I am concerned about the selection of what gets a citation and what doesn't. I would feel much more comfortable, this is just me speaking for me, I'm not speaking for anybody else. I would feel much more comfortable with this if we triaged and set the schedule of citation violations up differently. So perhaps an example would be weeds and grass and underbrush and duty to keep premises clean. That's a garden variety code violation. Just about every code violation includes one of those two. I would feel a lot more comfortable if the first time these people went through the system, they got a notice of violation, came before the code board. But in the case of the grass that you're describing, right before the hearing, they mow the grass, 3 weeks later it's back. Okay, now they're getting a citation because it's a repeat within a certain period of time. Okay, I'm good with that. But just to jump right to citation, first of all, I'm concerned that we're decimating our code board's responsibility, that they're not going to have any meaningful role to play. And second, we're going to overload the courts, which of course is their problem, not mine. But I don't think we're going to make any friends at the courthouse. The other thing is, though, is a first-time violation for having grass. I'm not sure that we really need our residents having to take a day off of work and drive down to the courthouse and find a place to park and go through security and find our courtroom. Now we have code enforcement meetings at night, so most people can come at 6 o'clock or 6:30, and they don't have to. I mean, we intentionally don't have it during the day, so people don't have to take off of work to get there. I think the selection of violations, and I'm talking too much, but the selection of violations, in my mind, needs a little tweaking. I can't give you that direction. It depends on what the council, but it's unlikely that I'll vote for this on second reading if we get to that, if it comes back like this. And I'm one vote, so.
I'm ready to make a motion, because I have discussion, but I can't,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Yep, okay, Vice Mayor. Oh,
Wait, still questions?
question.
I think Councilmember Schisler.
Did you,
Was it
Councilman?
a question?
I did have two questions.
Okay.
Do we have any idea statistically what's coming through to code board on a regular basis? She's shaking her head. No, I'm hearing all different things,
We do. I don't have that with me, but.
No, I understand that, but-
We, throughout the year, we will get grass cases. Most of what we're getting recently has been parking, a lot of stop work orders, trees. Not so much trees recently, but there have been a lot of those. A lot of parking violations, commercial vehicles recently. Those have been the big ticket items.
Stop work orders?
Yes, stop work orders, yes.
Okay. I would like to know what the breakdown of that is,
Do that?
if we could, but, it would be helpful in before a second reading. I just would the other question that just came to mind is, our officers will go from one zone to another zone. And anecdotally, I've heard where, well, that's where I said a new officer came to my zone, and now I got a citation or a notice that I'm in violation, and they don't know my area, they don't know the area. So I mean, I just want to make sure that we have the proper training for the officers going forward with this, so that my boat's been there for 2 days. They may know it, they may not know it, but if a new officer comes in, doesn't see it, well, okay, we have a warning, a notice. but just be careful with that. That'd be my concern.
Councilmember, did you have questions?
Yeah, just a bit quick one. Thank you very much for this. It's a good step forward, I think. And my question is just to sort of ease everyone into it. Could you please walk me through the A to Z from the initial friendly outreach? Could you please address your code violation all the way through to now it's in court? How many firewalls would the code violator need to blow through before ending up in court? How many days are there from the first outreach, for example, to the courtesy notice, from the courtesy notice to the violation, from the violation to the further escalation that leads to the courtroom eventually? What would that look like in a practical setting so that there's no concern here that, you know, these routine things will just all end up in court all of a sudden?
So we'll use grass because we talked about grass. So somebody has a yard with very high grass, over a foot. Our officer goes out, identifies this property as in violation, leaves a courtesy notice. That would be followed up by an attempt at contact. We'll knock on the door. We'll try to make a phone call. If we have email access, we have their email documented somewhere, we will try to email them and find out what the situation is. So from that courtesy notice, they will generally have anywhere from 15 to 30 days, depending on the situation and exactly what's going on. At that time, a second contact would be made. If nothing happens, and that's exactly how we do things right now with the regular notice violations. At that time, the decision we made to write the citation. That would be notified. I would give the approval to write the citation. The citation is written. A copy will be mailed to the property owner. A copy will go to the court. A copy will go to our clerk. At that time, they would have 30 days to pay the citation. If they don't pay the citation, at that time they will be asked to go to court. The judge then would determine what's going to happen with the citation. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, thank you. Yep.
Okay, council, is there a motion? Yes, you, Vice Mayor, you were prepared to make a motion.
Excuse me.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Yes, thank you very much. We'll ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
Thank you. An ordinance of the City Council of Temple Terrace, Florida, amending the City of Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, Chapter 1, General Provisions, Article 2, Code Enforcement, Division 3, Supplemental Enforcement Procedures, by amending Section 1-104, subsection D, by amending Section 1-105, subsection B, and by creating Section 1-105, subsection D, providing for the severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the Temple Terrace Code of Ordinances, providing an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Vice Mayor.
Yes, thank you. Move to approve on first reading an ordinance amending Section 1-104, Enforcement Procedures, and 1-105, Schedule of Violations and Penalties.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion of the motion.
Yes.
Council members. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Mr. Mayor, I heard what you're saying about some of the violations. To me, there's a big difference between the grass ordinance and premises clean. Grass ordinance is very cut and dried. If you cut your grass, you wouldn't have it. But anyway, those we get a lot of, and again, it's could be up to 60 days, and it makes your neighbors mad. And that's really an easy one. Premises clean's a little, keep them clean, that's a little vague. I get it on that. But there's other ones. The biggest one I want to talk about, and it happened in my neighborhood, and I talked to code, was a pool security violation. House was vacated, it had a pool, the fence was down. Both sides of the fence was down, very accessible. The only recourse is what we had, and it was 2 months. That's a safety violation. City can't go on and put a fence up. They can't put barriers up on private property, so it took 2 months to get action. This would prevent that. And I'm all for all of it. I don't mind tweaking some of that. But these are items that happen anyway, and it stretches out 2 months. And for the other comments I've heard about my boat in the yard 2 days and I get a citation, you don't. You get a notice, hey, by the way, you can't keep your boat here for more than 3 days. They won't get a follow-up for 15 days. The people have plenty of time to move it. I also hear about they're picking on me. They're not picking on my neighbor, possibly because their neighbor's taken 2 months to fix the violation and they don't know anything that's happening. So I'm in support of the idea of this, and if some of my colleagues here have some issues with some of the items, let's take that up. But I support this initiative. And I am the liaison to the code board, and I hear all the items.
Councilmember Schuster.
I'm in basic support of the process. I am glad to hear a couple things that Mr. Shank said. Was that citations would have to be approved before they're issued? That wasn't said before. You know, they'll let you know, and you'll have first right of refusal and that type of thing. I agree wholeheartedly with the pool. I think that's not fast enough, in my opinion. But it is what it is. Pool safety is absolutely critical. And I've seen some pools. It's like, dang, that's a dangerous situation. And the quicker we can move on that, the better off we are. And the only other thing that I'd like to see for the next reading, just general statistics on how many of the code board, what violations the code board is actually having to spend time on. And we don't want the code board to be neutered, but by the same token, we want to make sure they're dealing with the issues. And then last of all, I just want to make sure that we have the proper training of our officers for the citation portion of it. Otherwise, I'm in favor of it.
Further discussion? Well, for one, the pool isn't a no-brainer. I'm not against the program. Maybe I said it wrong. I'm against citations for I think the only thing in this, in my mind, that needs to be tweaked is what we're going to do citations for and what we're not. Mm-hmm. The pool would be fine. The improper parking would be fine because that's so transient. It's difficult to get that before. But some of them give me a little heartburn. The weeds, the grass, the duties to keep premises clean. These are bread and butter code board cases, and I am concerned about taking those off the table and sending those people right to court. We'll see. I mean, nothing's perfect sometimes on the first round. We'll see how it goes. But I do think we should better define what's going to get a citation. I think this is a little too broad.
We're still discussion, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's my understanding that the process would be that the homeowner would get a courtesy notice, be given time to correct. Then, if it's not corrected, the citation would be issued. They can pay the citation. They wouldn't go to court unless the citation remains unpaid.
Or they contest it.
Or they contest it. And that's my only concern, is the ability to contest something when I do know that there are people that have had, whether it's true or not, the perception of the experience where they felt singled out by code enforcement or something else. But these are not items that I am concerned about with regard to a citation. For one thing, the weeds and the grass now, I mean, I don't pay my lawn service. I feed them. And they don't do an awesome job sometimes. But, they're there and they do keep the grass or weeds a little shorter. But, I mean, that's an area that if they are allowed to go through this process, through the normal code process, you can go a long time, and that's where the raccoons, the rats, and the rodents and et cetera start causing problems for neighbors. So, I think our goal is to get this, the things that need to be addressed in a faster methodology than we can do through the normal code process. So I don't have an issue with that.
Councilmember Kravitz.
I just have a comment. I don't think immediately when you contest it. And I could be wrong, so please, Director Shanks, correct me if I'm speaking incorrectly here. But when you contest it, you would be in an administrative process with the city at first. I don't think it would automatically go to court unless the city actually initiated a court proceeding. So we still have that, as far as I know, under our control.
No,
or am I
if you
mistaken?
contest it, it's like set of court.
Does it automatically, so by contesting it, it automatically is escalated to court?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe what we need to do is have an internal contestation process here where people can go to Director Shanks or something like that and work it out in that way for 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, whatever it may be. This is something I know from my home jurisdiction where you have a 30-day period after you get an administrative act to resolve it with the issuing authority, and then afterwards you have the right to go to court.
Yes, please.
The only problem with that is the way our code reads. It says the county court shall have jurisdiction over all violations governed in the division. That kind of takes, unless I'm incorrect, that takes away our ability to move on that after we write the citation, I believe.
I think I can speak to some of this. I'll just let Director Shanks handle it. When I was in Tampa, we set up the civil citation program, so I do have firsthand knowledge of how this will work. And the 30-day hold period was actually happened to us because the clerk of the court asked us to hold them for 30 days. So if this goes through and we have that process, and where if a citation gets written, I anticipate we would be holding them for 30 days. You know, that's what the clerk of court would want. And perhaps during that 30 days before it gets sent, you know, they can either pay it, and perhaps we can set up some sort of process for Director Shanks or someone to review if someone wants to challenge it internally. But if he decides, no, this is a violation, and they don't pay it, it would get sent to the court. The court usually has, I think it's set up 1 day a month, which handles all civil citations from Hillsborough County, code enforcement civil citations from Hillsborough County, City of Tampa, and then what would now be City of Temple Terrace. Plant Cities obviously goes to the Eastern Division. They have their own courthouse over there. So I think we could probably create, and we'd have to look at it between first and second reading if this passes, to see whether we can have a process, a review process if someone asks for it that would fit into the system and not become cumbersome and not also undercut the entire civil citation process.
Makes a lot of sense to me. It's kind of like in Dr. Strangelove, where it doesn't make sense to have a doomsday machine if you don't tell anyone about it. So when they know they're about to go to court, they might be much more inclined to comply. Giving them a 30-day window where they can do that makes a lot of sense to me. And it sounds like it can be implemented administratively rather than in the statute.
So
I'll yield. Whatever.
Okay, so we would, their appeal would be to Director Shanks, who approved the issuance of the citation in the first place.
That's why I'm saying we'd have to kind of look at it between first and second.
That's like appealing to the police chief for a citation that somebody got for speeding.
No, I concur. I mean, that's, that would be the only time that I think we could have an administrative review, unless we count the one prior to the civil citation being issued.
Okay.
I'm just trying to
Yeah,
help.
I was going to say, since at least my take on us is that we don't disapprove of the program, there's just some items may not go. Can we, if approved tonight, can we as individuals send our comments into city manager, which items we think may not be appropriate for these citations? Like I know you probably don't want keep premises clean in there and some of the other ones. And then have that tweaked for second reading?
Well, each of us are always free to interact with staff prior to second reading and say, you can't speak for council, obviously, no more than I can. But I mean, each of us can interact with staff and say, I'm not going to support this on second reading unless X or unless Y, or I would suggest maybe a conversation is better than just laying down
Sure.
I want ABC, because, these are very smart people, so maybe you think you want A, B, and C, but when you learn the rest of the story, you really want, C, D, and F. You don't want A, B, C. So, but yeah, I mean, I tend to continue to say I think we should better tweak and define it. But ultimately, it's the council's decision, and if my ideas don't gain traction with the council, then that's so be it. I mean, that's the way it is. So I respect the decisions of the council. It doesn't have to always be my way, but I do think we ought to take a look at refining the list, but yes.
One final comment. This won't come back until you settled all your issues with the clerk of the court, correct? I don't know who to ask on that.
Come back for second reading, you mean?
Is there second reading, right?
No, I think the plan would be if this passes and gets adopted, then we would be approaching the clerk of the court.
In fact, the motion needs to be revised to include the second reading is going to be June 2nd.
Okay.
And we really need to call the question at this point.
And I will make that revision to my motion.
That the second reading, June 2nd.
Second.
And we have another second. Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No nays. This ordinance will appear for a second reading and public hearing on Tuesday, June the 2nd, 2026. Next is a second public hearing and second reading of ordinance 1595, rezoning property on the north side of Harney Road, east of Davis Road, otherwise known as RZP 25-01. I will ask the city attorney to poll the council for ex parte communication, please.
All right, thank you, Mayor. This being a quasi-judicial proceeding, I'm going to ask if any member of the city council has had communications with anyone regarding the matter coming before the city council this evening, and that would be item 12B. If you've had verbal communications, if you would disclose when, where, and with whom those communications occurred, as well as the sum and substance of those communications. And if you received written communications, if you would please disclose the form of the written communications, who sent you the communications, and the sum and substance of those communications. Councilmember Fernandez.
I have none.
I've had none.
Chambers. Mayor Ross.
Have none.
I have had none.
Schuessler, and Councilmember Kravitz.
None.
Very good. In that case, I'll open the public hearing, and our esteemed city planner, Joe Moretta, is here to explain.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. It's my pleasure or my privilege to be able to present this rezoning modification for RZP 2501. It's the second reading, as the mayor indicated. And I think I have, there we go. Just to recap where we were at the first hearing, this is a request to modify an existing plan development that's located on Harney Road, about 245 east of Davis Road. This is an existing plan development known as Point Plaza. It includes 4 lots, as you can see on the graphic. It allows up for 110,000 square feet, most of which is in a 109,000 square foot shopping center that's located on Lot 4. The subject we're talking about is Lot 3, which is further down to the south, abutting Lot 4, and it's outlined in red on your graphic. The applicant's proposing to revise that lot to add an additional 30,000 square feet of limited light industrial, commercial use, and the applicant has agreed to not have any outdoor storage in this area. In terms of the existing plan development entitlements, the northern portion of the plan development includes lots 1, 2, and 4. Only lot 4 is developed. Lots 1 and 2 are vacant out parcels. Lot 4 contains approximately 109,000 square feet of the 110 that's allocated for the plan development. Lot 3 is a vacant redevelopment pad. It's about 3.9 acres, and a portion of it serves as a master retention area for the overall plan development. Getting on to the conceptual plan on Lot 3, the project is proposed in accordance with light and industrial development standards. The property is located in the Community Mixed Use 12 land use category in the comprehensive plan, which allows consideration for these types of uses. And the conceptual plan proposes 2 buildings, 15,000 square feet each, for a total of 30,000 square feet. Moving on to the access, the Lot 3 will have access via Davis Road and Harney Road Both of them are county roadways. Hillsborough County is reviewing the access management, and you'll have another look at this as part of the final site plan review for Lot 3. In terms of the Planning Commission review, your Planning Commission found this to be consistent with a comprehensive plan for Temple Terrace. And in terms of city staff, we believe the proposal is compatible with existing planned industrial and commercial uses in the area. The proposal, as I mentioned, is also consistent with a comprehensive plan, and City Council will have another look at this when it comes before them in terms of the final site plan review. And staff is recommending approval with conditions. The conditions were provided in the agenda material. I'm available for questions, and also the engineer of record is also here. If there are questions you want to ask of him or me, I'm here.
Thank you, Mr. Moretta. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council member questions. Are there questions? If there are no questions, I will close the public hearing and ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, rezoning a parcel totaling 3.9 acres plus or minus, folio 38210.7606, from PD to PD that is generally located on the north side of Harney Road, approximately 245 feet east of the intersection of Harney Road and Davis Road, providing for amendment of the official zoning atlas map of the city, providing for severability, providing for correction of typographical errors, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council, is there a motion?
Move to approve ordinance 1595 on second reading, rezoning property on the north side of Harney Road, east of Davis Road, RZP 25-01 with conditions.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion of the motion. If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No nays. The ordinance is adopted on second reading. Thank you, Mr. Moretta.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
I know we have some new business. Is there any carryover council business? Councilmember Fernandez.
Yes. Okay, so my first question is, and this probably will come up somewhere else as well. Anyway, with regard to the larger rental units, like meaning apartments or multifamily units, who does? They all have to maintain a certain standard of living, a certain standard of occupancy. Who would actually go back and see or inspect to see that they're maintaining the appropriate level of habitation?
Okay, let's see. Overall, for habitability, sanitation, inspections, as I provided in that memorandum, it would be the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, the Division of Hotels and Restaurants. They are in charge. That has been preempted to them to regulate all of that. The city can still regulate as to the Florida Fire Prevention Code and the Florida Building Code. That said, I know that our Mr. Shanks has been working with the regional person with the Department of Business or Division in Hotels, or is it just DBPR? DBPR, and if they ask for assistance, we can provide assistance to them. But overall, statutorily, it would be the Division of Hotels and Restaurants, but I know that our people are working with at least the particular incident that was brought up at.
So I guess the reason I'm asking is based on the last meeting where we had comments from residents of, in this case, a particular establishment, particular residential, that sound fairly egregious in terms of meeting the living conditions required to be up to your minimum housing code. So the question I have is that how does something within our city, how does a multifamily residence like that get to that standard when, if we were driving around looking at ordinary houses, we would be issuing citations? Should we be issuing citations at a multifamily unit like that, or have we been relying on the other entities to do the inspections?
We won't be able to regulate through citation or code board or anything like that. As I said, and perhaps, Mr. Shanks can speak a little bit to what's factually been happening, but outside of the Florida Building Code, outside of the Florida Fire Prevention Code, we would be then I'm sure we'd be getting the calls. I believe that our department always goes out and investigates, and if it requires regulation, they would be contacting DBPR.
Okay, so I don't necessarily expect that we have a concrete resolution for the residents that are concerned like right now, but my concern as in city leadership is that it matters what type of housing stock makes up the city, and I think that our city, we have a great diversity of housing stock, meaning we have something for almost every age group or every life stage that you are in. You've got your large house, large family, small house, small family, multifamily. And it concerns me to have multifamily or any house, any residence, but multifamily in this case, that's exhibiting such a diminished level of meeting the minimum housing standard. And I mean, personally, if I were in that situation, I wouldn't rent there. That maybe should be driving some of this, but I guess I'm just concerned that we, the city, don't necessarily have a mechanism to help maintain our expectation. We just finished a full discussion about code enforcement, and we don't seem to have a mechanism to maintain that level of expectation in a multifamily residence.
City manager.
So I appreciate the question. I understand the preemption piece, but I just want to make it clear, one of the benefits of living in a community our size that we've always prided ourselves on is the fact that we can offer services more directly to people than the county, for example, or the state. So within 24 hours of the last council meeting, Director Shanks and his team, members of his team, were out on this property, talked to the property owner, understood the property owner is making significant improvements to the plumbing of all the buildings. This is the largest property in the city, second largest taxpayer in the city. A lot of buildings, and they're changing out the copper piping for their facilities, putting in valves and things like that. So that explains some of the water disruptions that have been happening, because there was only basically one valve per building historically here. So if there was a unit and you had to replace a water heater, our understanding is they'd shut off the water to the entire building, and that was probably likely historically why people would experience some of these shutoffs. Now the shutoffs are being programmed to replace the copper piping and put in the valves and just bring it up to a higher standard. So that was clarified. Mr. Shanks also went into the one or two units of the people that were here at the meeting, looked at the issues that they raised. If he found anything there that he felt would fall under the purview of DPPR in terms of a violation, I'm sure as he's expressed here today, he'll make the link. He'll try to advocate for our residents, even if we don't have the authority to issue citations. Our code office, and we've expressed this to council, under Mr. Shank's leadership, we've been thinking about changing the name of code compliance to neighborhood services, because again, this is a service. Even though we don't have the regulatory authority, if we can help, we'll help. And that's what he's trying to do.
Okay. And then I want to ask you about the noise issue that was brought up in public comment. And I am aware of it. It's a question I asked you at the previous meeting, and I did not know. So just for full disclosure, I've been there to that shopping center. I have heard the noise, and it is not a pleasant sound. It's loud. I don't know what what we can do about if there's a volume during the daytime as well. But I can see, like, I would personally not have chosen to eat at that restaurant, given the sound, given the volume, and I wouldn't have wanted to be next door to it, just because it was just so loud. So I could understand, so I don't know what we can do with that in the daytime.
If I may. So I believe Mr. Shanks already has attempted to make contact with the, Mr. Shanks, do you want to just come up to the podium?
So we did. We made contact. Initially, it was the wrong restaurant. So we had a conversation. They said it wasn't us. But I know she gave me the suite number this evening. We actually did speak with that restaurant. Initially, it was explained to us that it was their grand opening, and they had this big party, this big blowout, speakers going, and I have not seen it since there. Tonight, as soon as we leave here, I'm going to take a ride over and see if I hear anything. The only complaint I've gotten so far is from that resident, which is fine. It only takes one. However, I haven't been able to duplicate the actual event. I did email her, I believe it was this morning or yesterday evening, asking for times. If it's at 10 o'clock at night, I'll be over there at 10 o'clock at night. If it's on Saturday night, I'll be over there Saturday night. Every time I've gone over there, I haven't heard anything. Similar to the noxious smells in the back. We'll have more follow-up for that, but the sound, we're trying to identify when it is.
Okay. That's it. That's all I have.
Mr. Shanks, while you're there, she made reference to the EPA coming out and finding something. Do you have any knowledge of that?
Yes. Back in February, I want to say it was, I looked it up, I think it was February 16th, we got an email. Actually, I'm sorry, Public Works got a phone call. No, I'm mistaken. I got the phone call. I emailed Public Works about it. About illegal dumping of coals back there, and that the lady, it was Miss Normandy, had emailed or called the EPC. When I went over there, the inspector was actually there. So I spoke to him, and he said, yeah, they were dumping coals. They were putting some kind of liquid on it. They did what they had to do. I saw the evidence of the coals there. To our knowledge, and I've been back there multiple times since then, I haven't seen it repeated. I'm not saying it's not happening. I'm saying I haven't seen evidence that it's repeated since that day. We'll contact the EPC again and see if they've had any follow-up to that case. I believe the DPPR was called as well. I don't want to see that officially, but I'm going to go back in my records and look tomorrow and see if the DPPR did follow up on that.
Okay, thank you. That's it?
That's it.
Any other council business before carryover council business? I'm going to call on you for new business. Is that same thing? Or?
Yeah, it's carryover in that
Okay.
case. Regarding the topic we just had with Valenza, the DBPR, that is the Department of Business and Professional Regulation. And the Division of Hotels and Restaurants, that's the one that you were referring to as being operative here?
That's the one that's identified in the statute, yes.
Got it, okay. So just so that we're clear, we're referring to the exact same thing here. On their FAQ, this is what it says. I need to report a safety concern or sanitation issue at an apartment building or complex. Who should I contact? Issues should first be reported to property management. If the issue is not subsequently resolved in a reasonable manner, please let the Division of Hotels and Restaurants know so it can review the circumstances. Complaints arising from violations of the Florida Building Code or Florida Fire Protection Code may be addressed by contacting the appropriate local government office. So I find it a little bit strange to hear that.
What did you just say? He said that.
Yeah.
He said that.
The local government office is us.
He just said
He
that.
said he had not.
And I'm hearing now that we are preempted from having any regulations on this. And I went and I looked, and Tampa regulates apartment complexes. So I don't understand why we're always in the situation that Tampa can do things that we can't do. And I remember this exact same discussion coming up about short-term rentals, that we can't regulate it, when other cities do.
Regulate short-term rental.
Yeah, we discovered that together, and it was a difficult process. And if I may just finish what I'm saying. So again, we're running into a situation here where we're being given advice that we cannot do things that many other cities in Florida do demonstrably, and which the DBPR itself says that we should be able to do, and that people should refer their complaints to us as the local government office. So all of that I find to be incredibly confusing. And if your reading is correct, then we have a situation where we are supposed to send things to DBPR. DBPR says that they have to send things to us. So there's a regulatory void here. It's a catch-22 where nobody is responsible, even though in our largest neighboring jurisdiction, these kinds of regulations and inspections already exist. So,
Mr. City Attorney.
Again, as in the email that I sent out, and I believe I clearly said tonight,
You did.
we can regulate the Florida Building Code and the Florida Fire Prevention Code. It's the sanitation and habitation issues that have been preempted to the state.
habitability and sanitation are in the Florida Building Code. Habitability is a core element of the Florida Building Code, and our current building director, who I think is Dallas Foss, has the right to intervene on that basis under Florida statute right now.
I'm not exactly sure how to handle that. I mean, respond to that. I mean, by sanitation and habitation, I remember questions or comments being about the condition of the carpet, mold, issues along those lines would fall under the habitation and sanitation that we would not be able to regulate. But there are, I suppose, aspects of the Florida Building Code that deal with sewer, water going into the buildings and the units that would become part of the building code and we could address.
Yeah. So what I'm going to want to know is why Orlando, Pompano Beach, Tampa, Lake Fort Worth, Boynton Beach, any number of other cities in Florida, including the jurisdiction that we literally abut. So like if I walk a couple miles, I'm in a jurisdiction that does the things that we would like to do here and we're being told are preempted. I want to know why those jurisdictions can do that and we cannot, and why they are not preempted and we are.
If it's the desire of the council to have me check, I know that when I worked at the city of Tampa, we were unable to regulate the sanitation, habitation, and inspection of apartment complexes more than 4 units.
How do you explain that Tampa does inspections then? They don't necessarily inspect for the contractual issues that you're squirreling this into, but they do inspections. They have an inspection program for apartment complexes, and we don't.
The fire department does. They check for sprinklers and other fire safety issues, fire extinguishers. But I'll be more than happy if the city council so wants for me to inquire to the extent that their code enforcement department is regulating apartment complexes of more than 4.
And while I have the floor and we're on the topic, I would also like to know where in the Florida statute you cited it differentiates between big and little apartments. Where is it that it says if you have 3 or more, then you can't do these things, but if you have 3 or fewer, you can? So that is the other one that I find a little strange, because I did not find that in the statute, that large landlords are treated more leniently than small landlords.
I'm pretty sure I cited that in the email itself with the.
Oh, I guess I'll have to read it again, but it didn't appear to me.
Well, go ahead and look it up, Mr. Mueller.
Well, actually, let me do it off of here because I'm having trouble with the duo.
Let me see if I can find the email. It'll help you speed up your inquiry.
That's all my old business, by the way, so I yield my time.
Okay, well, let's get to the bottom of it.
And whatever we dig up right now, I'm sure I'll look into it in greater detail. So I look forward to the ongoing discussion on this.
5090134A2.
All right. As I said in my email, I got it right here. Section 509.032A7 states that the regulation of a public lodging establishment, including but not limited to sanitation standards, inspections, is preempted to the state. And then there is an exemption, an exception to that preemption, which is any place renting 4 rental units or less, unless the rental units are advertised or held out to be to the public to be places that are regularly rented to transients. So under 509.032, they accept out of the preemption any place renting 4 rental units or less. So we can regulate 4 rental units or less, but anything over 4 is preempted to the state.
Why don't you read the first section one more time?
What I read earlier?
Just now. You read the first section.
The regulation of public lodging establishments, including but not limited to sanitation standards, inspections, blah, 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 is preempted to the state.
Yeah. Building code? Did I hear building code?
This paragraph does not preempt the authority of a local government or local enforcement district to conduct inspections of public lodging establishments for compliance with the Florida Building Code and the Florida Fire Prevention Code.
Right. So the discussion that we're having is whether the building code applies equally and whether we can inspect people for compliance with the building code. And it seems that we can. And the second question after that is, if we can do that, what exactly is it that the building code allows us to inspect for? Because I'm not saying that we do the maximalist program, but other cities, like Tampa, inspect large apartments, and by doing that, they achieve a higher standard for the tenants who live there. So there is a leeway, based on the exemption that you just read to this council, that we can use to regulate these large apartment buildings, and that much has been established. So
I'm not sure how to respond. I've said several times we can regulate using the Florida Building Code.
Right.
Now, as to what extent our building official is going to be able to go in and regulate and what falls under the building code and what does not, I would leave that to our building official.
yeah, I agree. And I think that we should explore it. So I'd like to do that at some point. I'm not going to make a motion on this tonight, but I think it's clear that there is a scope that we can use to regulate. Other cities do so as well. I'm not advocating for a maximalist program, but completely exempting them, as we also do right now, is maximalist in the opposite direction. So I've said my piece on this. I will yield my time.
Councilmember Kravitz, new business, you're recognized.
Thank you, and I wish to apologize for BPAC, specifically on this one. I wanted to bring up this motion before I went into the other item, but since it was holdover business, I was obliged to bring it up previously. I apologize for that. This is the most important motion that I'm going to make tonight, so I just want to put that out there. And I do have 2 other items of new business as well after this, but I'll save it for later. So BPAC is an incredibly engaged and dedicated committee. They have contributed strategic overviews to the city, for example, with the pedestrian and bicycle master plan. They do a lot of work. They've just recently upped their commitment to visit, to come together from once every 2 months to once every month. They've been putting in a ton of work. And so I hope that we can all honor that tonight. And so I'd just like to make the motion now that we move forward Mr. Buffington's proposal here, and we ask staff to evaluate the regulatory landscape that's available and make a recommendation to improve bicycle facilities at end of transit, and that the staff can coordinate with the committee during the process of doing that review, and that they will also consult with the committee's draft materials while doing that. So this is just exploratory. I just want to see whether there's anything we can do to make bicycle transit a little easier here in Temple Terrace, and whether we are at the state of the art, especially as it relates to any other jurisdictions that are around us when it comes to what we require of developers. And so that would be my proposal.
Second.
Discussion? Councilmember Schuessler?
I have no problem with the basic premise of what we're trying to do, provided it's for new construction, new projects and so forth. I'd hate to go back and tell people that they have to do a lot of retrofitting, particularly with what they call the end of the route type thing, showers and lockers and that whole thing. That I think would become quite oppressive if we started requiring that. But you know, I think Mr. Pauly already indicated that the committee, the review committee, already says, okay, we need some bicycle parking and so forth. Yeah, I'm in support of the premise of doing it, just so long as we don't get too draconian with it in the process. But I think it's, you know, it's a good step forward.
Discussion? No more? I have a couple thoughts on it. I will support looking into this as well. I think it's worth to take a look at their materials that they've compiled. They're very productive committee. They've done a great job with the pedestrian master plan that they helped us develop a couple years ago. They did a fantastic job. The very dedicated group. I would put a little caveat on this, at least from me though, and one thing is we are in the throes of budget, a bond referendum, PFAS, and God knows what else we got going on right now. So I would expect this would take perhaps a little longer than, you know, the normal turnaround. Plus, we already have some land use ordinance revisions in the pipeline now that are yet to be resolved, that have been in the pipe for some of them over a year. So I would not want to create a situation like we've done in the past where we throw a new project at their lap and then in 30 days we're scolding them because they're not getting what we want done because we keep throwing other stuff. So this has got to take a place behind some of the other stuff. So I think this is going to take a little bit of time. The other thing is in my mind, the way this should probably be best unfolded so that they have an opportunity to actively participate is once we've gathered some information and have some idea of what the possibilities are, because I mean, there's some things that aren't going to work here that maybe Gainesville might do that we're not going to do because we don't have UF. But what kind of scenarios we're looking at, I think this is the kind of thing that's best done in a workshop as opposed to a council meeting where we can have a little more back and forth and a little more input from the committee members, and it's a little different environment. So difficult to do that in a council meeting because of the Roberts rules and everything's got to be boom, boom, boom. So if this comes back and there's some things of interest, which I believe there probably would be, then maybe we look at a workshop setting to kind of discuss that. But those are my 2 cents. But other than that, I think it's a terrific idea that we look at it.
Should we add a workshop to the motion? Do that.
No, if you add too much to the motion, you're going to lose support because we're telling them everything we want them to do down to the dots and T's. I think we need to see what's out there in my mind and see what they come back with and go from there. I mean, we start telling them that we're going to have it at 3:30 on a Thursday and I mean, you're not going to get support for that. But But I think, as it is, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you. I think Mr. Buffington and his gang have a pretty good survey right now. So I think in terms of staff impact, they will be able to do a lot of the heavy lifting. They've been incredibly helpful with that, and also very informed. So I think if staff would like to get any drafts or work with them on putting together a legislative proposal, I'm pretty certain that they'd be able to do that, and then that would mitigate any time spent on it by staff on other tasks.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no nays. Any other new business to come before the council? Vice Mayor.
Mr. Kravitz said he had a couple more items.
Councilmember Kravitz, I'm sorry.
Just two really short ones. First of all, Sunnyside Road. Second of all, Tico and the Peninsula. I just wanted to know where we're at on the Sunnyside Road complete streets topic. I know there was a workshop that was coming up, or a town hall or a community meeting or something along those lines at some point. And the other one is just on Sunday, a line fell down behind one of my neighbor's houses on Brentwood, and 1,000 homes lost power. So this is the same thing that I've mentioned multiple times previous, which is that the entire peninsula is dependent on a single power source, and when that power source fails, 1,000 homes have no power. And after the hurricane previously, they had no power, 1,000 homes, for over a week. In November, I was going back and forth a little bit with Joel Brown at TECO, which was a contact that the city manager kindly gave me. And I know that he promised a hardening study. And I just want to, I want to really, this is basically an appeal for support to all four of you. Please take that issue seriously. 1,000 homes lose power every time there's a tiny problem down there. It's consistent. It's happened several times already this year, and we're not even in the storm season. And whatever pressure we can exercise on TECO informally, we need to do that, because it's literally a single critical point of failure. 1,000 homes lose power every time there's any issue with it. So that's all I got.
I have a question about that.
Councilmember Fernandez.
So my understanding is that Tampa Electric is supposed to be undertaking moving all of these lines that are in people's backyards out to the street side to make it easier to do repairs. Is that happening now, or is this on hold, or?
So they've got a resiliency plan that they had funding from the state a couple of years ago. And I think what I would imagine they're going to do, I can't swear to this, but I would think is not just take the lines from the back of the property. Is like, I'm one of the 1,000 homes that the council member's talking about. The lines run through the back of my property. I don't think they're planning just to take them from the back and move them to the front necessarily. I think their long-term plan is to bury these lines. They're just trying to do as much as they can within the limitations. Again, I'm not familiar with the limitations on in every year a work program. So they're making incremental improvements that way. I will follow up with Mr. Brown. I know that Councilmember Kravitz has as well, and I'll follow up with Mr. Brown as well about the specific issue and make sure that we can get an update as to the latest regarding the peninsula.
Okay, that was it.
Well, at that point, Mayor,
Vice Mayor, or Councilmember Sisley.
would it be possible to just have Mr. Brown come in and address the council on what the issue and what they're doing it? And that way, rather than him getting 5 individual phone calls, we can express our concerns and in a public, on the record.
I can certainly ask him.
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I didn't know if I was going to make this speech tonight or not, but along with the public comment about traffic, and on my way in, I passed a golf cart with an adult driving with an infant on their lap. So it's time for the golf cart speech. It's in Temple Terrace, the rite of summer always starts with teenagers driving golf carts. And the golf cart I saw today coming in here tonight did not have a visible city sticker. I don't know if it did or not. So it's just, again, to remind everybody, golf carts have to be registered with the city if you're going to be on the city streets. And we need to look at that. And we also, I'm asking council to see, with time permitting, if we could have put on our website or something to highlight that with golf carts. Because also state law, correct, Chief? People have to have a valid driver's license, correct? So 14-year-olds cannot drive a golf cart. So you don't have to come up. Are you looking?
No, I'm writing everything down.
Okay, all right. I didn't want you to come up. That's it for
Say
me.
that last one again. 14-year-olds got to have a drive, can't drive the golf cart?
They cannot, as far as I know. State law prevents it. Not our law, state law.
Okay.
Other new business or board reports? City manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I just wanted to just remind you that you have the Q2, the second quarter reports in your backup this evening. Also, on May 19th, your agenda is remarkably light and also kind of heavy at the same time because we basically have one item, which is the presentation from CHA. That'll be that evening. And we are starting budget. We have our first departmental budget meeting starting tomorrow, so we are getting into the thick of it right now as well. So I appreciate the consideration of staff resources are going to be tied up pretty heavy for the next few months now, but thank you for that.
Questions from Mr. Bayou?
I have one question.
Councilmember Fernandez.
As we're going into the budget season, I know we've talked about, we're changing out water meters from older water meters to newer. And we often see things with people when they find out they have a leak because of their water bill. And I wondered if there's any way with the newer water meters to help identify when there are large outflows of water that seem unusual, so that we might be able to tell people sooner instead of them going a whole month and then getting a $2,000 water bill.
What I can do is I can have our utility billing staff prepare an updated memo for the council regarding that issue, and I can distribute it to the council.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. B? City Attorney's report.
I have no report.
Any questions for the City Attorney? Councilmember Kravitz.
We have a lot of outstanding litigation. Has nothing happened on any of those?
Has nothing happened on what?
Any of the outstanding litigation that we have? Are there no updates on any of the litigation cases that we have right now with outside counsel? Think of the sewer line repair, for example.
I'm finalizing a litigation report and I'm just trying to figure out, once I got the final bits of information in it, the best way to provide that to you so you can look at that. With litigation, certain things being confidential, I got to figure out the best way to provide that to you without breaking any confidentiality.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
Other questions for Mr. Mueller? Mr. Mueller, I just want to tell you that we appreciate the work you do. I know you get kicked around a lot, but we do appreciate the work you do and the way that you protect the city and look out for the city's interests. And thank you for what you do. Keep the faith. Know that we appreciate everything that you do. I know the employees are very content. They like dealing with you and your staff. You run a great shop. You're approachable. They feel like you give them timely advice and turn around their items much quicker than maybe which was once the case. And so you're doing a terrific job. Keep it up. Staff loves you. All right, so keep up the good work.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if there's nothing else to come before the council, we are adjourned.